This conference will now be recorded.
We'll call to order the Monterey Select Board at 5:03 PM. We have all three members of the board present here in Town Hall. And our first order of business, we're gonna jump down to comments and questions from the public technically, but as I understand it, the Native Plants Working Group is here.
So with two of us and also the tree warden, whom you know, and who's been working with us a lot and been very helpful and helped us sort of formulate this kind of pilot that we're proposing.
Do you wanna speak a little bit more to it, of what you're proposing?
Yeah, I'll start out and you can jump in. In the 3 years, I think it's been since we became a pollinator-friendly community, we have a couple propagation we have a few native plantings around town. But we've often recognized that a lot of the land that could possibly be native plants is under the kind of management of the town and the Department of Public Works, yeah. And, I know there've been some people in the public have been a little concerned about the way, it's mowed, and we know you guys have, important concerns of safety and visibility and so forth. And, I had talked to Susan about this a few times, and one of the things she suggested two really good things. One is we research what other towns are doing in this area, which we've done somewhat, but could do more. Yeah, I gotta talk to NOFA, I think, but, and secondly, she said, well, what about maybe a pilot, area? And so we've been batting that around, and, Kevin had noticed a few roadways where there's already sort of a nice assortment of native plants springing up that we would, hope to possibly encourage. But basically, the main thing we're proposing is that from spring to fall, we just delay roadside cutting in these two.
For 1 year.
For the whole year,
For
1
to
year.
do a 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year pilot initially, in these lightly trafficked areas, and basically see and document what happens. So,
What natives, what invasives?
yeah, because we don't know. And, but this seems like it would be a good, pilot, and we are intending to maybe even soon start walking those areas and photographing the different species and see how it,
When they plow, when they seed over.
Which areas are you?
we're proposing the area from Griswold to
the
Carrington
Ball House.
Up to Carrington Patel,
Patel, yeah, that's.
on both sides,
On our school.
On our school, yeah,
on both sides of
Yeah.
our school road.
yeah, initially, yeah. And the other place is on Fish Hatchery Road.
Yeah.
North of the Fish Hatchery,
On the east side.
on the east side.
Which is not the riverside.
Yeah, it would be the left side going down.
And
Do we wanna go all the way to 23 or just to the old farm road?
To Gould Road.
Yeah,
is that where there's those stone retaining squares of stone wrapped in chicken wire?
That's in through there, yeah.
Where the tornado went through.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
15 years ago.
yeah.
Um,
So it would be, we think it would be a really interesting experiment, and we'd also like to share what we learn, with some other communities and, go from there.
I think we can definitely run it by our highway department, and see if it lines up with what they're trying to do.
Yeah, by just doing the no mowing for this period, we're trying
And
to
so would
make
it be
it
a
as
full
simple.
season? Could they mow in November, or would it be
Yeah, what we were talking about was taking a summer season, to see on these, in these pilot, test areas, to observe, to gather data. And then at the end of the season, there's no objection to mowing at the end of the season, but it's like, let's take a season to see what happens there. And that could include, like, we may find that if you don't mow for between May and September, you may find that it gets really tall and that could be a problem. Or we may find that, that in these certain areas, the vegetation is not very high. So it really is just, it's like to pause mowing for one summer season, just to see what happens, to do some analysis.
Yeah, one issue is the mowing on some level can, keep invasives from getting worse, like goutweed, but on the other hand, it can set the stage for invasives to get more invasive, so.
Depends on the plant.
Can
Yeah.
you remind me of the second location? I remember Art School Road, what was the second?
Fish hatchery
north.
So technically, we call it River Road.
River Road, east side of the road from the hatchery to Gould Road.
That's a long stretch.
And the reason these came up is just because they were places that I had already put in my notes, just out of pure sort of personal interest. As I was out surveying trees, I had observed a couple of places where there was really interesting stuff happening on the side of the road. And then when we started talking, I was like, oh, you know what, actually, I've already flagged a few places that could potentially be interesting test pilots, because there already is a diversity, kind of a density and diversity of different species.
Natives.
Yeah.
Would you guys be actually doing like some trend site plots to just measure what's growing there and actually count?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's right.
It's not that hard, it can be a pain in the butt, it's.
No,
That's
you
right.
just have to identify and photograph. and keep records.
Yes, typically with the plots, you actually pick like a meter square and you count everything that's in it. But that doesn't, you have to pick thoughtfully, because obviously you're not interested in doing that if there's nothing interesting growing there.
Yeah.
The stretch from the fish hatchery up to that stone wall, that's a long stretch.
Yeah.
Did you intend that long stretch?
I mean, it's not that long. I mean, River Road is only a mile long,
Okay.
a little more than that.
Yeah.
So, but we can.
Oh, right.
Just to touch back to a point, because I want to be able to bring it to the highway department, but could you give us a date of when it could be mowed? September, October, November, December?
October?
Yeah, probably after leaf drop, October.
Okay, I was just roughly.
And the one thing that I would add to what Janet was saying is that I think the idea of the native plant route that has been expressed to me is that this is a conversation to have with the highway department, but also they wanted to kind of get your kind of reaction. Like, is this worth pursuing with the highway department? Does it make sense to have a conversation with the highway department? Does it seem like, from a town perspective, it's an experiment worth doing?
I like the idea that it's small and that, Kevin, you know what you're talking about and you've looked into these specific places. And that we could test even maybe one site. I have a feeling that it wouldn't ever apply to the whole town, because here's another thing. You can do research on what it looks like when towns don't mow. Go to Sandusfield in August. I'm not even trying to be rude or anything, but go to Sandusfield in August. And my in-laws live on Town Hill Road in Sandusfield. The grass gets so tall, it's hard to see coming out of their driveway, right? So it's not always gonna work everywhere, but I like the fact that you've picked locations where it's more likely to work.
Are you saying, they don't mow at all in Sandusfield?
I don't think it's a planned thing, but I think that they have a lot of road miles and don't always get to everything every season, or they might get to it very late in the season.
It's just kind of interesting because, this landscape guy I work with, Clayton, I forget what his last name is. He was saying that of all the towns around here, Monterey seems to be a real hotbed for a lot of invasives. Mugwort, goutweed, so it would be might behoove us to look at some of those spots in Sandusfield and what's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think you can go around to other towns and first ask them, what is your protocol and what do you get done? Because they might plan to mow everything in June and they're not getting to some of it until October, and they know that, and you can go look at what's there.
Yeah.
In Monterey, the last few years at least, where things are getting mowed a few times.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
could compare with other towns and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's another aspect down the road is, can we maybe avoid mowing when invasives are blooming, you know? I mean, there might be some,
Actually, you might be better off mowing
The other way around.
just as they're starting to bloom, so you
Before
get them
they start,
before they
yes.
set seed.
yes,
Right,
yes,
yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And then one other aspect, Susan had brought up, what about, the sapling, little trees coming up? And Kevin had already mentioned that in some cases, he's wanting to identify some of the trees that are self-starting, if you will, so that we could try to maintain those that have
Yeah, so
volunteered.
from a tree perspective, from a tree warden perspective, one of the things I'm really interested to see, would be very interested to see with these a test pilot, is to see what kind of seedlings are coming in over the course of a year. We're gonna spend a little bit of money to plant some new trees. And I think it would be great to see if there are some trees, if there's a recruitment generation of young trees that are sort of seeding themselves, that we could, when they're well placed, when they're in the right place, that we could identify them to stake and to protect, to be the next generation of town trees.
As long as they're not too close to the road, so that we don't just allow somebody to seed that's gonna end up being
In the road.
in the, like, a
Yeah.
problem.
I mean, I think that,
I don't
to
know
be
what
fair,
the
I think that,
setback is,
that
but
goes
you might.
without, I think
Yeah.
that goes without saying.
Yeah.
I think that this is, we're not, I don't think the conversation here is about trying to enact overnight some change in policy across the town. It's about, let's look at a couple of places that are sort of unique in town, and see if we can improve what's unique about those places by, making a change to the way that spot is managed. I mean, obviously, 23 through town requires a different kind of maintenance regimen than Bidwell, than Art School Road as an unpaved road. So I think that sort of understanding that the conversation is about seeing what happens in a couple of very targeted places is the key thing. Also, it's just not to upset the highway department. Again, it's not about trying to change some universal policy, but say, let's do a little research in this place and see what we discover.
Is there any kind of, does anyone that's either the road folks or the tree folks have a, ideal setback from road edge to forest encroachment? That's like, what's that buffer supposed to be?
So
I think that's probably a Jim question.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering if anybody has
In my
that.
conversations with Jim, the road right of way is the road right of way.
Well, but
It's all right.
forget about right of way,
And he likes a lot.
right?
Right.
Then there's a separate question of
Yeah.
what's good to be mowed.
Right, no, but we should probably know it,
Yeah,
but
I
that would be
appreciate,
something interesting to know.
I appreciate you all coming down here. We'll keep you posted. I think it's something that we can mention and, discuss with the highway department. And
Yeah,
let you
again,
know
we
where
didn't
it
mean to leave them out, we just thought it'd be better to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I think we do have a full agenda this evening, so I think we're gonna
Yeah.
keep moving.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
very
the
much.
time
You're
and
very welcome.
giving us
It was a
priority and all that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck with the board part of the meeting.
No, none this morning.
Personnel policies.
Right, where are we on? We're drugging on.
So the only one from last time that I don't know if, that we didn't approve,
Was domestic violence.
was, this one.
Discipline, okay,
Give us
so I
that.
did have a conversation with her about both the discipline thing and the
Guns.
guns, yes. Now I'm trying to find my, oops, too many notes, right? Okay,
Oh, chair.
So she's actually gonna look into some wording, because we raised a really good point, and there's certainly, there are definitely convictions of crimes that could impact your ability to do your job.
Right.
Like, obviously, if your accountant is guilty of investment, for example, or more to the point, if you get a DUI and you have your license pulled, but your job involves driving,
Well, if they're CDL, I mean.
right, if you're a CDL driver. And there are probably others that we're not thinking of, and so she's gonna look into some wording to alter that. She's also, so there is a we haven't gotten to it yet, but there's a workplace violence policy. And, I raised the question of weapons, and she mentioned two policies that she one is a law. In Massachusetts, you're not allowed to bring firearms into a publicly owned building, unless you're law enforcement.
Right.
So that would be one thing. The other thing is, she thinks, and she's gonna research this further and make sure that we have the proper wording. There's another rule about, that weapons must be properly locked and secured even in personal vehicles. So.
That's a policy that we should adopt, or that's a law?
Well, the first one's a law.
Yeah.
And the second one, she's not sure, and
Okay.
needs to check on. But either way, she's gonna try and beef up the language that would allow us to put something in there that basically would say, you can't bring, unless you're in law enforcement, you can't bring a personal weapon into the public building, and while you can have them in your car on public property, it needs to be properly secured. So that would mean that someone that's got a hunting gun in their pickup and they drive to work, they either have to have it properly secured, or they shouldn't have it. If it's on town land.
So should we, we're still waiting on the wording before we approve the discipline, I assume?
Yes, we're waiting for that, and we haven't looked at the workplace violence, so by the time we get to it, that will be fine.
So other than that, we'll jump into part 3.
Can I ask, I need to ask one other thing, which is, among the ones we were going through today, we included a work from home, which is basically telecommuting. And like, the thing's like 10 pages long and really intricate. It doesn't really, the only person I can think realistically that might do it is the TA. And it would be under pretty specific circumstances and not as an ongoing thing, but as an occasional one. And I don't think that policy is not meant for that. The policy that they have written is meant for someone who's consistently working from home. And it just seems like it's not something we should probably be looking at. It's fixing a problem we don't have, for one thing. And it's so complicated, I feel like it's not really worth our having, yeah.
That is not in part 3, that's in,
Yes, it's in policies we haven't seen yet. Because I've only, that was a group one, now we're gonna go to the next.
It's very complicated because we do, it's kind of different, but we have people that do work off-site.
Right?
And sometimes that's site work at a site, but
I raised this.
I think like the building commissioner
Right.
does site work at a site. And he's here for some office hours.
And the assessor.
But I think that, I think that there's work that's happening, and we'd have to ask these people, but I think there's work that's happening not in town hall and not at a site.
Okay,
Same is true
Community
with
center.
the,
Christian, he
Okay.
doesn't always work at the community center.
okay,
What about Don Clausen? I mean, he occasionally works from home.
okay.
and, the health agent as well
Yeah.
is never in town
He's not
hall.
in town hall.
So my question would be, it is complicated, and I feel like all of those are gonna be very specific situations. And I don't think that policy that they have drafted is intended for any of these more complicated situations. It's really meant for an individual who's like regularly working from their house. Like when you read it, that's how it reads to me. And I'm not sure how we approach that. I don't think they have a lemonade policy for that. We could ask them to draft one, but I feel like we probably have to have some pretty specific guidelines for how we wanted it to.
I think
Was it specifically work from home or remote work?
It says, what is it titled?
Because I think that's two different things, remote work and work from home.
I think because this is, such a diverse organization
Mm-hmm.
where we employ everything from transfer station
Work from
employees who work for a few hours a week and it has to be at the transfer station, to a town administrator, to a health agent that doesn't even have an office in town hall. It almost, maybe I'm wrong here, and I like policies and procedures and standardization, but it almost has to be a very short policy that says, if an employee wants to work from home in a job that's typically done in the office, it just has to go through the select board. And I don't like involving the select
Yeah.
board
No, I think
overly, but it's too complicated. I think it's otherwise too complicated of an item to make a policy about. Because how can we tell, someone down the hall, yeah, you can't do that from home, and then tell someone else, yes, you can, because your job is just very different. It just seems so specific.
I know, and there is one other path that we could travel, which, and I'm not suggesting, I'm just saying it occurs to me we could do it, which would be that since the pieces that are involved in different departments are for very different reasons and would have to be crafted differently, the other option would be we could craft departmental policies addressing it that's crafted to each department, rather than try to make an overall policy that tries to deal with all those different situations. It's just a thought. Or we could have it go through the TA instead of the select board.
That we could do. I think the idea being that the select board just protects the town administrator from saying that the building commissioner could work remotely, but
Right, but
but the
it's
town
also
clerk
good,
can't,
right.
or it seems like it could get really messy.
Yeah, I know, I agree. So I'm just not sure what to do with this. So what are we thinking? Just have a general one where anyone who wants to work remotely has to go through that? I mean, like, apparently, the reality is there are some people that work remotely. We're not, like, maybe in different places, maybe from home, maybe not from home, for different reasons.
And there's some positions that someone might request to work remotely and would not work at all for the town.
Right.
Even if technically they could do a large portion of their job function from home, it just wouldn't.
I mean, we had a select board secretary that mostly worked from home. She did come in, but she mostly worked from home. Like, she was doing most of I had the impression she was doing a lot of the minutes, not in the office.
Other than us, I don't know. I don't know, maybe we don't make any policy.
I was kind of leaning that way because.
Well, right now, the job description don't they say in some instances, like.
Maybe that's what it is.
It should be.
It's just in the job description.
That there's a remote work, that the option for remote work.
I'd be careful of that. I think you just need a generalization. Someone can request to remotely work from home, and it'll be evaluated on its merit at that time.
That's why I'm thinking maybe there's a general.
By the
remote
direct
from-
supervisor, the town administrator, and the select board.
Maybe there's
I would make it very simple.
like a generic work from home, not a remote work policy, not necessarily a work.
Yeah, but I
policy. Kind of says what you have.
there, I can see where people, they may have been ill, they wanna work from home or something like that, we could grant that. But when you do it permanently, there's still the interaction with you and us, I think you just have to look at the merit at that time.
Okay, so give me the wording again.
Sure.
I think once
I think I voted for
you can request to work
Remotely
remotely.
from home, it'll be evaluated by the town administrator and the select board. Something very simple.
And direct supervisor if there is one.
Yeah, they're right.
And a decision will be made. And I also don't know if we should put something in the policy, but kind of make it clear that we're not saying that all the people have been working from home for decades or working remotely for 15 years need to come and
Right.
make a request, but
But no,
it's, most of the time it's obvious
but
what works and what doesn't.
It's not a lot.
What?
It's not a lot of people, anyway.
That
no,
work
it's not, no,
remotely.
it's not a lot,
Yeah.
period.
Well, but percentage wise,
It's a big,
you work from home a little bit.
a lot.
No, I mean, you come in, you're full time and then
Yeah, no, but I
you
do.
get an email or whatever.
Yeah, or I do.
That's pretty much all we work now.
Yeah.
It has to be like these specific, but we're not employees,
That's why I've been setting up, trying to set it up so my files are available.
It's actually almost a privilege to not work from home. I wanna not work
Wait
from
a
home.
I know, right?
We'll put in the budget,
What?
3 offices with the 3 select board members.
God,
No, I mean, it's a privilege to not.
because you can put
Have
it
to
down
do
when you
work at home,
leave,
'cause you
theoretically.
leave
Oh, that's what you're
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
That's what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Yes.
Yes.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
do hear what you're saying, yeah,
You can leave, you don't have to get an email saying,
true,
Right.
or a call or whatever, yeah.
I hear what you're saying.
Alright, so I think that was all the things that I asked. Social media. Oh, so I was supposed to ask about this. So we have a vacation, we'll be addressing this in one of the next batches. We have a vacation policy, a sick policy, and a part-time off, paid time off policy. And the question was, should they be combined? And my thought was that vacation and sick time apply to full-time employees and paid time off applies to part-time employees. And the two policies are not exact, they're not really identical, although they're similar, so I thought it was better to keep them separate.
The only thing would we ever combine vacation and sick time into a paid time off for, not combine them in the system, but combine them in the policy, paid time off for full-time employees,
Paid time
and then you
off,
can do vacation, sick,
right,
and then paid time off for part-time employees.
that would be, might be a good way to do it,
Keep it simple.
yeah? Okay.
Just should holidays be linked in as well?
Yeah, and then holidays is the third category, and they both get it, right?
Yeah.
And-
But then you
Is there a
know,
holiday policy separate anyway?
yes, there is.
But what we're asking is if we're putting all of those in one easy to access place.
I don't think so.
You think we can
Yeah,
leave them separate?
I think it should be separate, yeah, because of payment and how pay works and all.
So is it safe to say that Don forgot about our appointment?
Might be.
I'm not sure that,
I mean,
so
we're-
what's the payment?
Let me get my phone, yeah. well,
I'm
that's
not
what
sure why
office
it
hours
would
are.
I mean, so you need them separate so you can find them?
No, they just, because sick time and paid time off is,
Different on the
it's
sheet.
different. It's a-
Right.
Those are
But we
accruals,
have,
so I
paid
just
time
feel
off
it different,
for-
it's different.
full-time employees, you get vacation, sick time, holidays.
It's not paid time off though, a holiday
It's
is
paid.
time off.
You're getting paid in that time off.
It's not paid time off though.
No, it's a separate bucket, but
It's
it's,
accrued time.
it's not accrued paid time off, but it is paid time off. You're getting paid to not work.
I guess within the nuance of that, yeah. But, I don't know. it just
We could do
feels
holidays, vacation,
different. Hold on, I gotta call
sick
Don.
leave, go.
Alright,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
My 2 cents is, if I'm an employee, I'm an employee somewhere, but, there are these weird instances where it's like, is that sick time or paid time off or holiday pay? Because different companies recognize different holidays, but sometimes, we have optional holidays. I think every single holiday is optional, which is different than this town.
Oh, you have a.
Yeah, and all the paid time off is lumped in together, so I guess that's a little different than here. But it just seems like you could go to one place to consult all your paid time off questions.
I mean, I kind of feel that way, even if it's in separate paragraphs with different titles.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why he feels that they're different, because they're treated different in the town attendants, they're treated different in the budget. You calculate.
And it's not accrued, it's not
Right.
accrued, it just happens when it happens.
Right.
Um,
By the way, not every place has you accrue sick leave. There are apparently a lot of places where you just,
Use or lose.
you get it at the beginning of the year. You have this much, you have 3 weeks worth of sick time, we give 3 weeks, but it's 120 hours. Supposedly it accrues at 10
It
hours a
seems like
week,
it
10
go,
hours a month, but
that seems like it'd go really poorly if you start a new year with a new employee, they're sick for 3 weeks and then they quit, and you pay them the vacation time that they accrued while they were sick. And it just seems like a raw deal to the town.
typically,
I can see,
typically you do a thing where they're not allowed, like, even if you give it to them, they
Yeah.
can't actually, you give them like 1 day they can take in the first 90 days.
Oh.
Right, you still have the
limitations.
limitations during the.
Probation.
Probation, thank you, probationary period, and they advise us to give at least 1 day during the probationary period, because
Yes.
everybody gets sick.
Yeah.
Job. So I don't think there's a problem dealing with that, and once they're on board, it doesn't matter in years going forward. Rather than having people accrue it, in reality, why? Because are you more likely to get sick month X rather than month Y? Maybe. It's sort of weird, and once they've been there a while, the sick time carries over, so really, what's the point? Is my point.
I like the way we do it because I just think it's simpler.
Okay.
Then we don't need to manage. I mean, what do you do if someone's sick for 2 weeks at the beginning of the year and they get sick?
What do you do now?
Well, you kind of go on the negative now, but it helps you even manage.
Do you think it helps people remember how much time they,
Yeah. I don't
know,
I can see 6 and 1/2. I can see the reasons why.
right, I'd like to see numbers on how much sick time people are actually using.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Ryan says for him it's about 40%, but I don't know that we have similar numbers, I don't know how variable
I
that
think
is.
that would, to me, that seems fine.
40,
They use 40% of their
Yeah.
accrued sick time.
It's a while, that's, how much time do you have with this?
I know.
But 40% sounds high. Tends to be a younger workforce. We always knew that the younger workforce.
They might have injuries though.
What percent of sick time do you think people usually use?
On ours, but here in a production environment. 20%. There's people that left, with the year's pay, their sick leave, they.
Wait, because they're retired.
Yeah.
Oh, but in Massachusetts, we don't pay people out for sick time, right?
It's town by town.
It's no time, but I think that typically,
Do we? We don't.
what I've heard recently, we don't know.
Yeah.
What I've heard recently from talking to various people is that, there are places where, in fact, this guy in Stockbridge, Mike said this
Mhm.
about them. They have a thing where if you quit, you don't get it. But if you retire, they do it as a benefit to try to keep people that they will pay out. It's not,
I
here's
would
the cap out,
challenge-
That-
I
that's
would
what they pay
challenge
out
that
some of it.
rule.
That's what we did. We had a, depending upon when you were hired, it had a max out. So like you
Well, I
could do
heard-
960, but then if you retired, you could only get 25% of that.
Hmm.
So that's kind of how it worked, that whatever your hourly rate was at the time. So the most you could, so there were some people who were there like for 30, 35 years, and they could get 25% of whatever they accrued, but they realized that was a little unmanageable.
Right, yeah.
So they set if you've been hired after a certain date, they said you can only accrue 960 hours. Then if you retired, you got paid to 25% out at that point, but that's how we did
So
it.
there wasn't, in other words, if you quit, you didn't get any of those hours?
No. So
Wow.
for me, for example, I left and I had almost a year's worth of sick time. So
Wow. Because usually, we always took the approach you earned it, it was part of yours.
Yeah.
You earned it, so it was yours.
Yeah.
And
So-
then we just did calculations on the percentage of amount was used and how much like a line was.
Yeah, so it does vary, and I mean, it's an interesting idea to try to have that as a benefit.
Policy that says if you earned it.
So,
Alright,
okay, so,
shop
can we get into the part
Yes.
3? So the first one is drug and alcohol-free workplace policy, I believe.
yes,
I didn't have any changes. I saw yours change, Susan, on supervisors.
The only thing that I was surprised about, I guess, given the last 10 years, is how it talks about marijuana and says the following is prohibited off-duty, any use, et cetera, of controlled substances or marijuana, except in the case of marijuana where authorized by Massachusetts law.
Where are we?
That's true. Off
Um,
duty, under
Part
procedures.
4A1, off-duty.
Part 4A, right, off duty. In the case of marijuana, where others are. I mean,
So you're allowed to grow 12 plants in your yard.
But, you know.
but you're not allowed to be positive for
I
marijuana if
guess-
you're driving a vehicle. And it's 30 days. Oh, good luck with that.
I guess then leave it like this, because it just surprised me, because basically marijuana use is totally legal in Massachusetts.
It is, but it's, yeah, you have to look at it like alcohol, you know.
Yeah, but alcohol, at least you can take a breath test, but marijuana, that THC sticks in your body.
Right.
But, and this is about being off duty.
Well, I think theirs is a sale. But yeah, the word possession,
Use
the
of
word
marijuana
possession is,
law.
Right.
it's really the use of the word possession, because, and use. It's really, yeah, whether you're off duty, you're not, I don't think you're allowed to sell marijuana that you've grown in your yard, or just.
Well, you're not-
you're not.
Expensive.
But it says
But what happens
use
if it says-
or possession of marijuana,
That's why I think,
Except in the case of marijuana.
where it's authorized, but it's basically,
I
use
would,
of marijuana in Massachusetts is not really authorized, it's just,
no, it is authorized, but you just can't sell it, you can't distribute it, you can't dispense it, you can manufacture it,
For personal
So,
use.
or
yeah.
transfer of controlled
That's
So
substance.
the
for
reason they're
personal
saying
use.
we're authorized is they're trying to allow for the exceptions
Anybody-
that are allowed.
yeah, it's just weird to me to call it exceptions. It's like, there are times when you couldn't drink alcohol, like when you're on duty driving a truck, but we wouldn't say you're never allowed to drink alcohol off duty except when Massachusetts law allows you to drink it.
Yeah.
It's like,
No, it is-
Massachusetts law doesn't allow you to smoke marijuana or allow you to drink alcohol, it just prohibits it at certain times, like when you're driving a CDL vehicle. So,
You could say except where, except in the case of marijuana, where not prohibited by Massachusetts law.
maybe that would make more sense to me, I don't know if other people are comfortable with that.
You're saying where the last part was prohibited? but
Instead of saying we're authorized, you could say we're not prohibited.
I think that's a better.
Yeah.
Okay.
That satisfies, that basically gets it, thanks, Susan.
It took me a minute to get there, but I did.
Should you put in there bacon, but people put it in there forever?
So I think like the word possession, because you can possess marijuana.
Yeah, anyone.
But except in the case of marijuana. So where not prohibited would include, where we're not listing it, but it would include, sale,
Yeah.
distribution, dispensation, manufacture, or transfer. Like, I don't know about transfer, if you don't sell it, you can probably transfer the marijuana you grow in your yard to your neighbor, but
You
I'm not
can't,
covering that.
you read the
Not prohibited by Massachusetts law, I'm just covering that, we don't have to
personal use only.
personally use something. What I wanna know is what you do about marijuana, like, I guess the effect does wear off, but if someone were to toke up an hour before they came to work and drive a truck, they would be under the influence.
Yeah, but you have to prove it, and you have to prove it by, I don't know what the rules are, but, you know.
It's the same for drinking beer. You had a couple of beers before you came into work, and then had a couple of mints and some peanut butter, and nobody knew you had it, it'd still be a little lit.
Right, you would,
So,
and it might
Same
impact
thing.
your performance, it is the same thing. Well, one last one.
Alright, well,
Anyway,
I
Are
think
there
we're
any
basically
other-
good to go.
any other changes, is that the only one?
Not that I do that in the mornings.
Okay, so date approved would be today,
Steak
the
and
11th,
eggs and
right?
peanut butter.
Okay, boom, oops, no, not that. File, save. Next up, employee development. Oh wait, what's it?
So this,
Employee development and training.
this might be, there might be one of these we talked about departmental policies, because, there might be something about this specific to, DPW and CDL licenses. Historically, my understanding is they would pay for half of it. The person would pay to go, because it's, I think it's, if I recall, it's like a 3 or 4 3-day training. I forget how it works, but anyway, the person was would pay for half of it. And then we would like reimburse them or something like that. I forget how the process, it's been a while since somebody did it.
I remember Jim talking
What I would-
Yeah, and so he was talking
Yeah.
about like fully funding it, depending on, I guess, I don't know.
But then you have to you commit to a year with the town.
Yeah,
of
yes.
employment. So
Yeah.
I think I agree with Roger that there should be a departmental.
Yeah.
And it should probably, CDL just comes up all the time, hoisting CDL. You get someone who doesn't have them, you wanna help them get there. Town clerk is different, right? Basically, the select board will just say, or the town administrator, should the town clerk, or the stuff that Brian goes to is actually in his contract. The trainings and.
Right.
So,
conference.
though, I would only do one change to this policy, I would work on a separate policy like Roger said, but I would say job-related development and training approved by the department head and the town administrator shall be paid for in full or in part by the town.
Where generally development training approved by the department of the town shall be paid for, in full or in part by the town of Monterey.
That would cover it, because otherwise we have someone who wants to get their CDL and we say, okay, we'll pay for half of it, and they say, you said right here, you'll pay for it.
Do we need to, yeah, I agree, do we need to reference separate departmental policies and then create them? Or are we just leaving it a little looser for the moment until we actually have those policies?
Well, I got a question if we, do move on the fire department.
Yeah,
What permit, is that a CDL license or is it?
So there's multiple things, right? There's levels of incident command training, there's levels of firefighting training, there's levels of CDL for driving, would be another issue. I expect if we're talking about EMTs, there'll be
So
levels of medical training.
Exactly, so I think the deeper you get into it, if we know we have, if it's a one-off,
Right,
we got a town clerk, they're gonna go to a training, we
Right.
talk about it, we say we'll pay for the whole thing.
but for something like that, we're gonna need a policy.
You should standardize it, I don't think that we should reference that in here,
No.
but I think that they should be separately created.
Okay,
Well, it's something that we need to discuss with.
and it sounds like at the very least, we need to we should probably have some kind of written policy for the DPW and for the fire department. I mean, I think we kind of had a method that Jim was using, or we were using for the DPW, but I don't know how consistent that's been over the time, and it sounded like, last time I remember Jim talking about it, like it was time to think about how we might change it, so.
And it gets messy too, when you
Yeah.
have a 20-year-old kid that you went and got a CDL and now he leaves 6 months and you have to go, maybe it should be standardized how you get that 2,000, whatever dollars back. I don't know what the law would let you do,
Right.
but, not that that's what we hope to happen, but it
Could happen,
could happen.
but
I think,
think they're pretty firm on, it's all but Sheldon, the only one without a CDL thing.
No, Seamus doesn't have it. He just has a hoisting license.
and I don't know, I mean, like, I know that, if you go, for a lot of universities, the deal is if you take, if you're, for your sabbatical, if you leave before a certain number of years afterwards, you have to give them money back in the
Right.
contract. I don't know, like, and of course, usually you're saying you're leaving right towards the end, so it's not like they can dig it out of your wages, which is what typically happens, so I guess the question would be, how do you do that? Is that on, I don't know, is that,
I think Thomas,
okay.
that's a start.
Could be worse.
Otherwise,
Worse
I think we got this one though, right?
Hi, Jeff. Hello, guys, gals.
Hello, Jeff.
How's everybody?
We're good, we're looking at personnel policies, how could we be better?
Oh, something near and dear to my heart. Somebody should hand off to the finance committee.
Yeah, totally.
Anything that has to do with money, which has, anything that has to do with employees.
That's right. Anything that's to the town, that's the money. Maybe that's right. Which one are you doing next?
Next one is
Minors.
employment of minors, I don't remember there being anything in that one. Yeah, department heads, that was it.
Looks good to me,
Looks good.
approved as drafted.
Should we say, town service instead of city service, no purpose?
Where is it?
Purpose?
Oh, yes, we absolutely should. Thank you, I missed one. Okay, the other one's got
City of
to.
Monterey.
And I know we said approved already, but I was, looking at the town, we don't have anybody, do we have anybody that was 16? What was,
The beach
beach
monitor
monitor was
was
16?
15 when he started. Probably.
Because I guess we're gonna have to figure
2
out,
years ago.
because that's probably the only place that we'd ever have a minor working.
Oh, yeah.
I could see Meyer at the transfer station on a Saturday.
Yeah, so for that. I think we have in the past, like I hear rumors that in the past that was the case, but it hasn't been the case in a while.
It's an interesting concept.
A high school kid that has, needs a weekend job.
I guess I'm looking at must post in conspicuous place. So we'd have to come up with a poster that says such minors employed, they're.
Right, we'd have to put it, like,
Yeah.
it's the beach monitor, in the
Yeah,
beach
put
cabin,
it somewhere. Or at the swap shop somewhere.
equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity statement.
It's pretty straightforward.
Cool, yeah.
Are we good with it?
Yep.
Alright,
Wait, one thing on the, equal opportunity statement?
yeah.
All town employees and representatives are prohibited from engaging in discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
It's gotta be discrimination based on the characteristics,
On unprotected classes.
yeah. Some word, but, I mean, we need,
Indiscrimination as described above. Race, color, religion, creed, national origin, identity, ethnicity, sex, gender,
Yeah.
gender identity, pregnant, related condition, sexual orientation, age, disability, citizenship status, past, current, or prospective reserved.
from discrimination on the basis of protected classes.
Basis of the law.
Protected classes
As
as
listed above.
listed above.
Because we need,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, approved?
Yeah.
Okay. And equal pay act. I think this was another one that I didn't have anything wrong with.
yeah, I have nothing.
Okay, Approved. 311. Yay. And the I-9 is actually called something else now, because I didn't like calling it I-9, I was like, I-9, what the heck is that? Citizenship or legal documentation status or work authorization. So. Anybody got anything?
I know.
Do you like the title, or should we, I mean, you see why I didn't like I-9, right?
I like the title. Yeah, it's fine the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
We asked for it we asked for it in the onboarding. And maybe an I-9 if we do.
Probably.
Yeah, it is.
It is
Sure,
technically
yeah.
I-9, but I didn't like titling it
No.
I-9, because then you're like,
It's a highway.
what's I-9? Like, yeah, really? Like, what's
It's a
I-9? I
highway.
don't know what I-9 is.
Outside of Chicago, I think, right? The I-9.
I mean, we could put parentheses I-9 for someone reading, but I don't know.
Approved.
Because it mentions it in this, in it there in the second sentence.
Okay. And personal leave.
So,
Well,
you wanna go first, Roger?
Well, what exactly is our definition here of personal leave versus vacation versus sick time versus, when someone passes away, what is that?
So passes away as bereavement leave, right?
Right.
As far as I can glean, personally, you get what, 3 days of your sick time that you call personal leave.
Personally.
Yeah.
Unless it's paid time off.
Well, we don't have paid time off except for
For
part-time
part-time.
employees.
I think,
So does
should
that,
this be lumped into our paid time off policy?
I mean, I
Yes.
can, but I think that it has to be a step, like this is the thing with separating policies. Once you start putting them together, then you're like, well, what does go in there? What
No,
doesn't?
no, no,
What
no,
goes there?
guys,
Oh my
this is,
God,
this is,
yeah, we know.
this is different though, Susan, because this is, okay.
Personal
You have
leave is
sick
technically
time,
a subclass
You
of
have
sick
sick
time,
time,
right?
and you can take some of those days as personal days, even if you're not sick. And this is how you can do it, so it's super related.
Oh, I would agree.
so why don't we just,
I would agree.
why don't we just give people personal leave? I don't know if we can do that as a, I'd have to look and see if we have that as an option in our,
We don't currently.
no,
Yeah, but what would we accumulate at 0.25 days a month?
no, we just give people 2 days of personal leave.
I think we can,
Once a year?
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but it's.
I don't think so, I mean, with
it's 3 out of the,
supervisors,
it's 3 out of the 120.
you have PT, employees, yeah, employees have PTO and sick time, if we wanna give them more, I think we should just give them more paid time off or more sick time, but we don't need all these subclasses of.
I think where it falls, where it comes in is when we have a new employee. Because I don't think we have a,
But there's still, the new employees are still restricted to the probationary period. I think we decided we give them
personal,
once personal leave or sick day
right?
during
that's right.
the probationary 90 days.
Right.
The first 90 days. And we separated that from the actual probationary period because the probationary period for the police was a year and that's not okay.
Can you pull up the sick leave policy?
We haven't actually gone over it yet, but give me a second.
Yeah, Nick.
So personal leave, the way I think of it is like, you're not sick, but you need a day off because you gotta go see the lawyer. That kind of thing is a personal day, but it's not a sick day, because you can't lie about being sick.
You can't lie about being sick, but you can just take a paid time off, 8 hours of paid time off.
But ironically, you can also take vacation time.
But ironically,
You have vacation time, right? Like,
Isn't that, the paid time off vacation?
But
Right,
paid
so-
time off with, vacation time is more scheduled, I think,
mm,
and paid time off may just come up,
whatever.
yeah.
We don't, but we don't need a separate bucket for like, you need to go see your lawyer to settle on the new property you're buying versus, we're overly granulizing it. It's just paid time off, and it's the same thing when you go to Aruba for a week, or when you need to, we don't really care what you're doing, you're just not at work. Right?
All full-time employees.
No, you really do, you don't want people just
Because.
stretching out time.
Yeah, because there's one reason that's important, which is the way we have our policy structured. You get the accrued vacation days, you get paid for if you leave. That is not true for sick time.
You also may not want that multiple employees in the same department have to all decide we're gonna take PTO today. When you might not have granted them all vacation time if they had all applied for vacation time. Now, you all can't have off between December 24th and December 31st, and you work for the highway department.
Right.
And we may need you, and you can't all take that time off. But if it's PTO, I don't have to get prior approval for that.
So we call our vacation PTO though, right?
No, we don't.
What do we call it?
The PTO is strictly, as it reads now, PTO is just for part-time employees.
So are we calling it vacation?
We have vacation, sick time, and what it currently says under sick time is, all full-time employees will accumulate 10 hours, 1.25, it originally was 1.25 sick days, and I'm like, it's 10 hours, because we're tracking hours, per month within each fiscal year, 3 of which may be used as personal days. Sick days not taken as sick leave within a fiscal year may be accumulated from year to year up to a maximum of 90 days. Personal days not taken within each fiscal year will accumulate as sick days. Part-time employees accrue 1 hour of sick time for every 30, then the part-time, that was the sick leave part.
I do think we need to be clear, if we're going to be talking in hours, we should, and then switch to days. If someone wants to take an afternoon off for a personal reason, it says a maximum of 3 days, should be a maximum of
24 hours.
24 hours? Should we do everything in hours? Cause our,
Sick leave,
I
and there's also, I had a page down, but sick leave may be taken in 1 hour increments.
so should we just say 24 hours instead of 3 days, or 3 days parentheses, 24 hours? I just think we should all work in the same,
Actually, 3 days in this instance would not be 24 hours.
well, it depends if you're on an 8-hour
Oh,
schedule.
3 times 8, okay, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, the 24-hour thing pinged with me, but
No,
yeah, you're right,
I know
24
it
hours.
gets complicated, but
3
so
work
somebody,
days.
somebody working 10 hours a week
Right,
doesn't get 24 hours of
No, but
personal
somebody-
time, do they?
no, because they're part-time and they're
Right.
covered by a different policy.
Underpaid time off. So personal leave is only for full-timers.
As it stands now. Except we made PTO for part-time.
Right.
Which would be official leave.
Mhm.
As well.
I'm just
I'm
thinking how I do it on the timesheet.
Right,
And
Personal days not taken within each fiscal year will accumulate as sick days, but we don't really accumulate personal days separate from the sick time.
I'm gonna propose that we actually put a bunch of these policies back in one place and not have them all separate. And when we come to it and address them as a block.
Well, the paid time off is the block.
Right,
I agree, I mean, like we
Right.
talked about earlier, we did the paid time off for full-time employees, paid time off for part-time employees.
right, because the thing is, we're getting into like they're all connected, and that, I thought they should be remain connected, because otherwise it's confusing to me at any rate, and apparently that's true here too, and what we're trying to do is figure out what the equity is between part-time and full-time, and what we're calling the things, which we don't call the same thing for the two groups of people, and all this other stuff. So I'm totally willing to continue this discussion, I'm just suggesting that maybe we should, try and treat all of those policies as a block.
Yeah, I'm all on board, I think, why don't you make it into, and probably when we discuss it, instead of doing a whole section, we might just do those, time off policies, time off for part-time employees, time off for full-time employees.
So then we'll be able to look at all those policies in a group and make sure that we think that they're clear and proper integrated and et cetera.
All right, I think we're on the last one, the personal leave and separation from service, and we'll get into the.
Eileen's not here this week, right?
Jeff, any clue if Eileen's gonna be here?
I don't know if that is a big deal.
I don't know, she's got a class. I didn't hear.
But, we can call the finance committee to order. Once we have our quorum.
Here we are.
Here we are.
So I think we should pick up where we left off and go right into the 200s rather than circle back to the 100s that we discussed. Otherwise,
Yes.
we won't get out of the 100s again, probably. So let's do a cursory overview of everything and then see how far we get. And maybe we'll set a rough timeline of an hour, no more than an hour 15 for tonight.
Works with me.
I'm hungry, it sounds like a good idea.
Probably all
Bought a
hungry,
pizza
right?
last
All
night.
right. You're like, damn, can't come in on that, just,
We may all be grateful for that.
Yeah, come on, there.
So we already have our holds listed out.
Yep.
We'll get, what's the first one in the 200s, Roger?
the first one of the 200s is the police chief's salary.
So what do you have in there now, 3%?
Actually, no, because they had
requested more.
they had requested more.
4% for him and 5 for the two officers?
It's 94,610 for the police chief.
Well, that's 3% there, but
Yeah, let me go find his,
he had requested, I believe, 4% for himself and 5 for his
Just make sure I got the right one. Yeah, so he had requested 4%, so, and then 5%, then level funded for the level funded
It's a working
5%
budget, right?
increase. I mean, I can go here, hold on a second. I just noticed that, it says level funded 5% increase, I don't think he meant a 5% increase, but I'll ask him for the part-time officers, which
Wait,
is,
how do you do level funding at 5%?
I know, I just noticed that, as I was looking at this, I didn't notice it before.
Where does it say level funding?
Level funded 5% increase, so I don't know.
Well, maybe not increasing hours or anything.
I'll
Oh,
ask.
you know what? Overtime wages.
Yeah,
Go to
was
pay
level, I think overtime was.
For full-time officers, so we have to increase that line. If it's at all accurate. If we're gonna increase the regular wages, you have to increase the overtime wages,
Because you're, right,
because they're all connected.
they're,
I can do that, yeah. I think,
but yeah, it was my recollection that it was not 3%, so I'm glad that someone else flagged that too.
I'll just double check with him.
Yeah, but I mean, he can't say that it should be level funded because it's wrong, right?
Well, it all depends on how much gets used out of that budget, because it's not like the whole budget gets used in the
But
course of the year.
Also, it's my understanding that we're doing a lot more of paying overtime to existing employees than paying part-time people, which is more expensive itself,
But we can't find the part-time people, which is why we're doing it.
but it's not.
I put the 5%
No,
in there.
but I think what he's saying is that there was enough left over in the budget from that line last year that he thinks he can level fund it even with a 5% increase, but that's what Roger is saying he wants to check.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
Yeah, I'll double check on that, but I just want to make sure that.
So are we now, we did actually now increase those lines to the 5% for the officer salary?
Yeah, I put the 5% in there just to
Okay,
say.
great.
So those come through. So those are at 5%.
Okay. But not for him, just for the other officers, right?
Yes.
You did hit 4%, is that right?
Yep, 4%.
Excuse me, Roger, is there any way you could zoom a little bit more on that screen? Oh,
How's that?
much better, thank you.
Could you go to the left a little bit?
And
Come
could
down a
you
little.
scratch over here? It's right here, right here. A little to the left, a little higher, a little to the right.
That's perfect.
How's this?
That's it.
That's good.
Scratch on the screen.
That's it. You got it.
Hang on, I might be able to freeze that. Can I freeze that slide? I don't want it to get too crazy.
No, that's
Yeah,
all
you
right.
can watch
It's
it.
good where we are. Police rental facilities is going up to police expenses.
Yes, yep. And that's really to pay for when they have to put somebody in, down, hold them overnight at that overnight Barrington.
So they're just eliminating the budget?
No, we're taking that
Rolled in.
and moving it up into expenses, as opposed to making it its own line item, which is where it shows up in the warrant.
Okay.
We're actually paying for the food,
So-
not the rental.
Okay, great. So it, like, in other words, it's, in the past, it's been a separate line, and we're now suggesting that it get rolled into the other line, so it shows as last year's line, and then this year is 0, because it's now included in the
I'm
line.
all in favor of trying to.
Fewer
shorten
lines.
some lines.
Yes,
Before we
that
start.
that is the,
Yeah,
that is
that's kind of
definitely
the
the.
idea. So-
Fire department compensation,
And just so you know, I did go back through and.
I saw,
Gray
it
lines.
looks great.
Okay.
Thank you, Roger.
That's why, because I know you. that's what you asked.
what?
How it's gonna show up on the town meeting warrant, is that if it was a line last year, it will show up for one more year,
Right.
zeroed out.
Right,
If that passes that way,
then,
then the
right,
following year, we remove it entirely.
right. Excellent.
Fire department compensation.
So I just put a number there, it's still kind of in hold, I don't
It's
know
on hold.
what
Because
that,
we're,
what
yeah,
that
and
means.
it's still gonna be that because we just don't have a decision.
We don't have a decision, and, personally, I'm looking to see what the overall budget is, because we have a different couple options.
It looks like equipment and maintenance is just getting wrapped into expenses, which
And-
makes sense.
Just so you know, even if we went with the option that I favor, which is the 24/7 coverage, it would probably be more like 678 than 800. But I don't have an objection to using the 800 number.
And it starts in October.
Yeah, it's not a full year.
3 people in July and 3 people in October.
Who's the third?
Yes. Might be more realistic to say 2 people in July and 4 people in October. The third would be a third officer, hopefully with EMS experience, to help organize where that's gonna go.
On the fire inspector stipend, that would go away under our new scenario, wouldn't
That's what they've actually, put it.
it? Okay, so,
So they would effectively, what their idea was to have additional training for, the deputy chief and the captain that they were gonna hire as officers, so they all.
So they would be
able to
out.
do
yeah,
inspections.
so,
It's not a huge number, but okay.
we gotta get everything.
The Berkshire County Sheriff, is that gonna be free this year?
They haven't given us it is, yeah, so coming up this year, they say they're not giving an assessment, they're not sending out any assessments anymore, because, the costs are paid through the 911 collected on your phone bill.
So should that be 0 then?
Could be 0, yes, it could be.
Can we make it zero?
Can we make it 0?
We can, yeah.
You have to probably go to the original sheet though, right?
Yeah, it's actually where.
I'd take both of those to 0.
Yeah.
I'm confident they are.
Oh, it was under police, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, there's a bunch of things, and so it's down here, zero.
Okay, and then you gotta go into fire to do the fire inspector. Assuming it passes, if it doesn't pass, I don't know what we do. I quit.
Has the budget failed? Has the town not passed budgets in anybody's recent memory?
No,
Last
but,
year, the budget passed without a single amendment.
Right,
right,
but has it ever failed?
no, because there's line by line, so things have been
So
struck
things
from
are-
it.
But yeah,
I don't remember any, like, I remember
I'll tell you what,
discussing
there's
if they've been
sometimes-
changed.
You
And I
have to
like the-
pass a budget by, what is it? Well, at least by July 1st. But
otherwise
the state wants you to pass a budget way in advance of
otherwise
that.
you can't do business.
Right,
Yeah.
but we've never actually, while I've been here, in the 20 years I've been here, we've never not passed a budget. I've seen line items go up and I've seen line
So,
items go down,
Yes,
but I've never seen
Grant
one,
writing was at the
even in my
couple
tenure,
years ago.
right.
I've seen that. Yeah.
but I've never seen,
For $2,500.
yeah, it's usually some small, small thing.
$2,500.
So of course these having these issues, just having some connectivity issues. And I'll put a 0 in there.
Okay.
Alternate
And
building,
then where else were we?
Fire
That's-
inspector,
Yeah, right above it.
so alternate building inspector wages. There's a whole. Does anyone know why? Maybe because it's not used as
I
much.
think it had the 3% added into it.
Yeah.
So I think it's
Yeah.
been 1,000.
Level fund it for 1,000. I know we don't use it a lot, but when you need it, you need it, and otherwise you end up in ethics violations.
I'm just gonna throw out there, for the purposes of this, do we wanna put in the compensation number as the actual compensation number that we calculated? even if it has to change later, or would you rather keep it high? Because it's $130,000 less.
Which compensation?
The fire department?
It's up to you, if you wanna put that budget number in
I'm
there.
just asking you guys what you wanna do.
Well,
I'm not saying that that's the number.
well, I think we should get it closer to the real number.
That's what I'm
I'm not gonna
suggesting.
say that I've agreed with that number, but I think.
And I'm not sure, and I'm not sure that number's not gonna change, but I think it's
I
not
would,
like.
I agree with it, put it at 678, so
Or,
then.
yeah, you wanna put it at 680 to give us a
All
little.
right, 680, so we, you know,
Cause it'll give us a closer estimate on the final budget,
So that's
680.
680.
680 for that year there.
Yep. I mean, 120 grand, 120 grand, I'll take
Well,
it.
if we can keep it at 680 ultimately.
I mean, that would be nice.
I sent you an email, but I don't understand where the ambulance service hits.
Oh, I emailed you, it's an Article 11.
Oh, it was a special article
Yeah.
last year?
Yeah,
Yes.
Was that paid from free cash?
Yes, yep.
And you're gonna do that again this year?
well, we're
That's a
gonna
question.
do it.
If we have any free cash yet?
Oh, yeah, that matters.
It's a good question.
I think that's why we have to look at some point the big ticket items, you know, the. Like-
So the
Fire
special articles, the
ambulance.
ambulance request is just over 100,000, right?
104.
The police cruiser is 69,000. So that's 170 something thousand. And
Yeah, 370.
if we keep our contribution to retirement in there, that would bump you up $30,000 to around 200,000. If
That
we,
was, free cash.
that's been free cash.
But we had
If
talked
we-
about putting it as a regular item in the operating budget.
If we put our, if you put the actual payment for retiree health and life benefits, that's about 20,000, so now you're 220. And we have 300,
304, yes.
304,000,
Actually, I have it right now.
so,
Yeah.
and if we have some free cash to pay down additional debt payments,
Additional, what you're supposed to pay.
what we're supposed to pay,
Well, for the library, what we're supposed to pay, but there might be
We
additional
also have.
debt payments that we
maybe
do
some
for other
issues
things.
With,
It's not just the library that we're carrying down.
fiscal year.
There's what?
There may be some issues with, some stipends that occurred at the beginning of the fiscal year. that got
we're supposed to
lost.
go in last fiscal
We're
year.
supposed to go last fiscal year,
We'll put
and
it
end
in
up in this
this fiscal
fiscal year, so we have to deal with that.
Okay.
It's not a ton, but.
So we could use it all up, but I think it also goes to show that there is the money there for the big items.
And also the free cash, isn't it supposed to be used for unexpected expenses, not for things that we,
Not at this,
Basically, yeah, you're right.
not things that we can.
Oh,
not reliable, like.
Basically, I agree, Jeff. But also like if we put that all in the operating budget, there's your 8% or 4% up
Yeah,
right
but-
there.
But then we have no free cash when something big happens.
We do have the stabilization fund.
What was that? You had that up there a minute ago, the stabilization.
Yeah, stabilization fund, right now, I looked at it, it says 689,301.
And I think we've also seen it as things that aren't yearly expenses not going to operating, so like when we buy a tree. So
That could also
it's
come out of the
predictable,
stabilization,
but
too.
it isn't recurrent.
So
Stabilization fund has to be voted on separately too. 2/3, I think it's 2/3.
2/3 or majority for
It's
stabilization?
2/3 for stabilization. And now, I
Oh,
think
yes,
it's changed,
2/3.
Steve, I think it's 2/3 to put in and take out. Could be wrong.
Oh, really?
But it was, used to be majority to put in, 2/3 to take out. I think it's.
You're right. That's what I have to appropriate. to
Well,
versus
the
trying.
argument for free cash used to be they need working capital, you start the year, you don't have any tax money. Theoretically. And the argument for free cash was it helped you finance the town until the first tax payment comes in August.
Well, we lose all of our free cash July 1,
Oh, no, we don't lose it unless we've spent it.
but we don't have access until it's certified again in fall.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
the problem. So now you have a certified free cash of 300,000. So whatever you don't spend, theoretically will help you finance the town business until the first tax payment comes due.
No, what we're saying is that's not the case, because
Well, I
as
don't,
of
I think
July
he's
1, we
talking more
can't.
back end, actual monies and actual bank
Okay.
accounts.
Yeah.
Which is something that I think most of us aren't really familiar with.
Okay,
That's what I thought exactly.
that's
We still pay our bills, it just takes a little while for the money to catch up to it.
right.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's always been the argument for free
Yeah.
cash, that in a regular business, that's called working capital.
So-
The amount of money you got to fund, let's say you have taxes receivable, it's very nice, but you can't pay your bills with taxes receivable, right?
So
Cash.
we've been leaving about 30,000, 40,000 in free cash after annual town meeting the last 3 years at least, and we haven't had any
Yeah.
problems with paying bills. I don't know, you need to talk to the accountant on, that's beyond
Yeah.
me.
But plus, like, consider that we can order, once it passes, and the town approves buying the cruiser, we can order the cruiser, but we don't pay for the cruiser.
Right.
No,
Until
but
we
like
get the
when
cruiser.
Southern Berkshire Regional School District, and I think they did this last year, or no, it was Berkshire County Retirement,
Yeah.
had their assessment due on like July 2nd.
Yes,
Well, the school.
And they needed a check for how much?
that was a lot.
Like $100,000.
It's quarterly.
They had
They
to
pay school budget
process a
quarterly, and
special
they want
warrant to get it.
Because they don't have any.
$250,000.
So
Yeah, no, I
That's
think
bad.
it
I
all
think
works out, I'm
Steve-
just pointing out that free cash
Right.
was not considered like spent it all every year, that, I never heard of that.
No, we
we not spend it all,
never
but
let
30,000, 40,000. So Steve, I think if you wanna talk to the accountant and figure out their current practices, I think that would be the right place to have that conversation,
will.
because I can't
It would
speak
be
for
the
everybody, but I think it's
treasurer's
beyond,
problem, not the accountant, but.
I think it's beyond us.
Yeah.
Moving on down the budget, tree warden expenses,
Tree warden expenses, so let's go find the tree warden.
it's up
He said-
huge percentage.
Now, I remember we had the thing where we said we were gonna increase it by what, like 7,000?
Three.
But 3,000 a year for like 3 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Between tree wardens, though, we skipped a year because
So,
Couldn't get a hold of the other one.
Right,
so the reason why I went up, so he's got the town's contract with John Field, includes a 5% annual escalation. He was taking FY '24 expenses as a baseline. The request reflects a catch-up of the FY '25 increase, which went unfunded last year. Remember, we didn't fund it. Plus an additional 5% compounded increase for FY '26 to keep pace with projected actual expenses. Then he's also requesting a new line for some tree planting, related equipment for staking and watering in the amount of 4.5% total budget. But he's also, I know that he's working right now with, Dennis Lynch on a grant to help with some tree management software and some tree inventory software. So he was additionally thinking that he would be using money this year, but hopefully he can get money to cover some of the costs to purchase and hopefully a year's worth, some maintenance. So that's what he's working with. So his overall budget, went from, where are we?
So 15%, yeah.
So yeah, he had a 14.6% change overall, not include, well, if put 50% for the expense itself. And
why is the stipend only up?
Because I'm not, well, I use a different stipend for what I.
Okay, from the different
Yeah, it's
spreadsheet,
a
so
different spreadsheet, it's over here.
could we,
So it's right here.
I think all those things are very valid reasons for the budget to go up, but it's also a lot.
Yeah.
Could we meet somewhere in the middle?
yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't have to make up the year we skipped. We can just we skipped a year, but we'll do 3 years, but we skipped a year. And that
And
would be
actually,
another,
that goes back, it wasn't 3 years, that's from when I started.
right, and that, what was
And
it?
it was 3,000, we basically just raised the tree ward budget $3,000 a year. There wasn't much more
I
than that.
remember when it was just a couple $1,000.
So, tree cutting prices are up 5%.
Right,
I can, I understand that Kevin is doing a very thorough job,
here,
and I don't wanna handicap him by
agreed,
Or discouraging.
discourage them.
Yeah, and there are a lot of trees that are dangerous that the electric company won't cut down. The electric company cuts down a lot of trees.
Yeah.
On this side of 23 here, John.
But there are still dangerous trees he's identified, I
Yeah.
know, down
You
here.
can see, yeah, you can see the marks on it.
Yeah,
Should we,
he literally walks the roads.
He does.
Yes, he does, I've seen him out there.
should we leave it, and then if we're in crunch time,
Yeah, let's leave it, and then let's see the bottom line.
And
So
I was
so
also
he
gonna say,
increases-
can we leave it, but ask him to look at his budget to see if he thinks it would, if we needed to, there would be anything he can cut, so he gets to make the call on what gets done.
I think the problem is 90% is just paying
John,
the tree company. And
Right.
it's just like, you have enough money for 4 days of them, or
I see what you're saying.
4
Right.
days and 2 hours.
Right.
It's like the Dash and like Garfield. They
You're
do
limited
as much
to-
as you have money for.
Right.
Are they gonna be in the lake for 8 days or 9 days?
And how much, how many trees are emergent enough that it really needs to be done this year, and what's that gonna cost?
And I think some of his tree planting, I think he bought some
Like
trees that came out of the arborist services, that's why he
Right.
separated it out. He did have some invoices that weren't necessarily for John Fields.
Well, it's a subline, so as long as it's trees, wood and stuff, he can do whatever he wants with it. So maybe we'll just leave it the same and even take the hold off of it. I think I put the
Okay.
hold on it, if there's no opposition. I mean, I think there's a consensus that Kevin is
Is-
very thorough.
Working really hard, yeah. Did you say, oh, sorry, I'm gonna let you finish.
Is
Did you
that
say
an
you got
actual
better
number
school
for the
numbers?
school system?
Well, I had,
You had. You only
Well, they
got-
were preliminary.
well, I had some what I thought were pretty good, numbers, but then I was, speaking to our, to Mari, our town administrator to the south in Marlboro. And she has, she got some information that they were struggling with the buses right now. And the bid on the buses wasn't accepted for some reason. I haven't really been able to follow up on it today. But there was something that had to do with the bid and that they were gonna have to go back out on the bid for busing. Only one company,
But there's only 2 companies,
it
right?
was like Massini, they were the only ones that get it. For some reason, the bid wasn't accepted. She didn't know why, but that's what she's heard. So I gotta reach out and find out what's going on.
But for right now, those are the best we
This is about the best. This is, I think the capital and the loan and interest are pretty good. It's just the operating and transportation might be a little short.
How long is that capital continued for? That's paying for renovation of that building.
Yeah, I think I have the, did she, I might have the information on what it is, but yeah, it's just their ongoing capital.
That was for the roof repair.
We already
The
approved.
roof is a boiler or something.
The boiler too.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think we have much discretion.
Yeah,
We
no.
approved it.
No, we approved the original bond. Why is it going up?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like-
Why is it going up?
Yeah.
Well, they had 4 unions that, came
Oh,
in
no,
this year.
I'm looking at the capital.
Oh, I'd have to go look, I think she sent me I'd have to look and see on my email.
There was at one point a large
It
account.
changes if our share of the budget changes, right?
Go back and look and
I mean, that might
Could
cause it to change, but the actual
Why,
bond payment, principal and interest
should be consistent.
should be. I don't think it's a variable rate bond.
Yeah.
It should be the same every year. So if ours went up, just like part of our increase is often the equalization business, so we might be getting
That may be
this,
it.
but that may be the only reason why.
That may be it on both those lines, the first one and the third one, 82 and 84 may both be that. It seems like it's a much bigger increase on 83.
It is, but that includes transportation.
Right.
And they just did the new teachers union, the contract for
Yeah.
the teachers.
It's
I
a
don't know
much
what-
bigger increase on what?
Then line 83.
Line,
School operating expense.
that's always gonna be the biggest.
Yeah.
You're just looking at the percentage.
But it went up $86,000.
Right, but it's a bigger number to start with, that's why.
We're waiting on
Right, I
final
mean-
school numbers, and then Roger will look into, there's a sheet that they provide about the capital, and there was actually,
So there's capital in 2 places. The
Yeah, Yeah,
loan
well-
interest and then the capital.
Yeah.
So
Right.
on
Interest.
380, it's in two places. I don't know what.
He's asking, is it really the same
When they
thing?
really give give us the budget, I think they send explanatory stuff, we haven't received the budget yet.
Technically, I haven't gotten it yet. I don't think they voted on it yet.
You realize they're still subject to 2.5% like we are. The schools aren't free from that limitation on their budget, so. if
They
go
never,
over, they
it's
have to
always
ask
an
for
override,
money.
my God, what did they, when was the last time it only went up 2.5%?
Oh, well, you have to remember, there's our increase, and then there's the whole school system.
No, but I mean, you said they're subject to 2.5% too, but they always go up more than 2%.
No, I don't, well,
No?
as I've looked at it,
Okay.
Monterey's gone up, because our share of the budget has increased because of the equalization, not because the school budget increased only. There's two reasons why we pay more,
I see,
right?
so it's not necessarily their
Yeah, I don't-
budget. Uh-huh.
They would have to go for a budget override, just like we would if you go over the 2.5.
Gotcha.
It looks like they're, roughly speaking, I didn't do it to the penny at all, but roughly speaking, it looks like they're going up 4 or 5%.
Yeah, their overall budget, I was told, went up almost 5%.
Which line we're looking at, and we just got the increases accordingly.
It's just a proposal.
If you go scroll to the right on the budget thing, there's a percent change and it's 4.3%.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's
well,
like for all
don't
of
forget, you can carry forward unused.
Yeah.
Budget, so that may be what they're doing. They're carrying that, to get to that budget. That you can carry forward
Okay,
any unused cap.
great.
Director of Operations salary,
I put the hold on that because what I'll do, is I'll do a spreadsheet showing all the numbers so we can compare. And what we're looking at for the, fire chief and the management team at the fire department, so we'll see, you and I talked about it at the meeting. So we can see, compare them, it's better than we have it, I can put that out.
So we have the management's getting comparably treated.
Yeah, then we can decide if we want to do anything else.
okay.
Next one.
OSHA updates and maintenance, looks like it's getting wrapped into highway expenses. Highway road maintenance is level funded. Snow and ice, salt and sand, winter overtime is up. Now, I think I put a hold on that because I think it went up due to COLA.
Oh, God,
And I think based on previous spending, it doesn't need to go up.
I don't think it does. No, I don't think we've even.
You're saying we don't need to take it up $7,500?
We don't budget anywhere close to actual with this one. We budget for worst case scenario and then some.
Right.
And so we're not allowed to even consider lowering it.
Yeah, right.
So if we raise it this year, we can never lower it from that. Otherwise, we cannot legally overspend that account. So I just don't think we need to go up.
Okay, I mean,
But
we're closer.
we could look at
Yeah, no,
previous spending.
I think on the, so, hold on.
Well, this year was
Well, we
probably
can look
worse
at it
than
right
the
here, hold on a
last few
second.
years.
Last year, we had a bunch
We had a
of
lot,
late
well,
season ice
So,
storms and stuff.
first week of March, we had the 12 inches.
Historically, this is kind of how it went.
It was two different accounts, which is gonna be,
I have to, where's my unhide? Here we go. So historically along this line, so it's actually at, you know, if you-
172.
if you take, set 72 of that, what was it, 2,700, what was that?
What's that? Well, just, it gives you
Yeah.
the combined.
So,
So,
Right,
yeah,
the
along
joint
the
went
line.
158, 140, why did it go down? Oh, that was
Well,
what was
this,
spent.
so this is what was
Was asked and that was
budgeted,
what was
and that's what was spent, so as you go along there, there's 163 was budgeted, 1 year we spent 167,
Wait, so you actually spent more than what?
There's no,
but it was,
there's
but
nothing
that's,
on there about what was budgeted, it's just what
Yeah.
was spent, right?
no, this is
No,
the
this
budget.
budget.
Okay.
This is-
First, in a color, the first
Versus spent.
first column is what was budgeted, second's what was spent.
Can you read us just the last several years of what we spent?
So in
Which
FY,
is
so this is FY
the
'23, so starting in FY '23, it was budgeted 163 $1,500. And they spent $167,413, but that could have been a nasty winter, I don't remember. And then this is 24, it was budgeted 185,377, and they spent 138. And in FY '25, it was budgeted 172,500. So it's been 150 for a couple of years. And 22.
But last year we budgeted,
So last year, this is what the budget was for last year.
no, you know what, this is what they do. That's including transfers. So we budgeted, it is, so
The 138.
the town meeting passed a total of 172,500, and we ended up spending 138,000. Because I know, because you cannot go down. And we level funded it this year, we just combined them.
So that was the FY '20,
Annual town meeting minutes of,
But careful, that's special town meeting.
or this one here.
No, 23
Okay,
probably,
23.
right? Wouldn't it be 23?
amended annual town meeting minutes.
Which line are we talking about?
Snow and ice, salt and sand.
172 is what was approved by the voters.
Yeah.
In '25, yeah. For FY '25.
Is this FY 24?
This is FY '24.
And-
Yeah, in FY '24, it was 150.
And 22.5,
150.
and 22.5 for winter overtime, and now they're all wrapped up
Which
together.
is 172.5.
So to your point, this is FY '24. There's the 150. It's the overtime,
We
hours.
transferred to that account, and so it shows up as budget. This is, I sometimes can't stand it.
Yeah.
We're not really seeing what was approved, we're seeing what was made its way to that account. So in the end, we spent $138,000 last year
Yeah.
for these two accounts.
But we had to put some more overtime money into it last year.
But
Or FY '20.
the spending combined was 138.
Yeah.
So do we need to go up from 172.5 to 180?
Is the question. If we,
I don't know, because
do
we
you know,
spent.
where does it stand now?
138,
Yeah, that's the line and then-
Oh, we haven't even, I just looked at it, we barely, like 50% of it.
For what, for overtime?
For-
For salt, sand, wind,
From
and
190,
overtime, the whole thing.
50%.
I think those are also tricky, because I think sometimes snow and ice, salt and sand used to pay for things that were equipment. Frank, you might know something about this. I think part of the difficulty that we're looking at is snow and ice, salt and sand. That account used to pay for many things that weren't just salt and sand. It was like fixing.
Yeah, there was a fixing piles, because I did invoices in December, and the repairs on,
Yep, they do
the
that.
plows were, parts for the plows were underneath that budget, under that budget.
So the question is, can we level fund it from last year to this year?
I think we could. We don't seem to, the only thing that,
And if it's actually one account where you can legally overspend, so.
Yeah.
It's actually less risky to.
I mean, we haven't, in total, we haven't spent $172,000 at all. In total. Because this goes back to FY
But then, I mean,
'22.
Did we get all the invoices, because didn't we have to sort of get, we had to get additional salt delivered?
It's not that we didn't have any money,
But
just,
yeah, I know we had it there, but it was, I don't remember
no,
reading it.
yeah, we got it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just kind of looking at that, it's.
Do we wanna be like,
I'd have to double check.
I know this sounds
Why don't we
stupid,
level fund
but
it?
do we wanna make it 130 for a nice even number?
No, because you don't wanna take it
Level
there.
fund it.
But 172,500 for snow and ice, salt and sand.
Oh, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing, 172, sorry, I was looking at the wrong line, right,
My inclination
172.5.
is to
Okay,
level
level
fund it.
fund it.
I would level fund
Because
it.
we haven't even spent $170,000
Yeah.
in the past 3 years.
So let's level fund it. Time for that.
Well, I think I've said before, if you need more money, you just call snow emergency.
Yeah.
And you can spend free cash. It's one of the only line items you're allowed to go over on.
But it's
Yeah.
not like we intend to run
No.
thick and free cash either.
I can't remember the last time they called snow emergency.
Haven't
We
we?
should call
So we almost did last year, but then we realized it's a lot less reporting to just transfer money into the account
Okay,
than to actually call an emergency,
oh, okay.
right? Because there's a lot of reporting that
You have
comes
to
along with
notify the
emergencies.
Department of Revenue, and
Yeah.
all those people, because you're spending money that
Overspending.
wasn't appropriated by voters, you have to tell them, and then you have to have a special town meeting to authorize.
So it's often just easier to just reserve fund, right?
Yeah,
As long as you don't,
yeah, it's okay.
as long as we're not dumped in 10 feet of snow.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question with fuel, I'm pretty sure I flagged that one, cause I remember that we got, can we look at what the expenditures were in the last couple of years?
For which one?
Fuel, so, we got into a thing where they hadn't upped the fuel
Yeah, that
for
was the
ages
first-
and ages and ages, right?
Well, it's the first year I was on the phone.
Right, so I just wanna make sure that we don't put ourselves in that situation again, but knowing what we spent, makes a difference.
Well, so this is townwide fuel.
Right, what year is
And
that?
this is FY 22,
Two, okay,
right? So there's FY 22, right here.
right, 37.
Can you freeze that top by any chance?
If
Yeah.
we would split paint, so it keeps.
Well, it's already kind of.
Or freeze, road under second?
Problem is that.
I bet you can freeze a
You can
road.
freeze it both
Yeah,
ways.
you can freeze it,
Otherwise,
but freeze paint, you gotta go the other way.
you know,
I always forget, in Excel, they changed the,
Yes.
thank you.
So, let's see here. So FY 22,
There we go.
there's your fuel right there.
So we spent 37,000?
Start going
Yeah,
over
that's
the right,
22, yeah.
So FY 22, we basically spent everything.
everything.
And
Well, but
FY
just read
26.
37,147, is that right?
So in FY 23, it was budgeted at 63,032, we only spent 59, and it was budgeted at 60, we only spent 42, and this was another thing I was just looking at, we haven't even spent 50, maybe that's what I was thinking, I think on the snow and ice, we've spent like 60%, but on fuel, we're like just a little bit over 50%.
Can you go back to show FY 23? Because it looks like a very much an anomaly from everything else. So you go 37,000 one year.
Yep.
59, keep going.
66
No,
now.
That is as
59
far
was
back as
spent.
I go.
Don't, the budgeted number really doesn't matter, because we're just looking at what did we actually use. So we spent 37, we went up to 59, and then we went down to 42. Was
Yes.
someone gassing up?
No, there
Or-
wasn't, I think
was there
that
a
whole
leak
thing,
in
was-
the
thing?
no,
It was
there
the
was
year
a
it
whole
took
thing, I
forever.
got a spreadsheet on
When it
it.
went up to like $5 a gallon.
It went up to like $5 again, and
Yeah.
I did a whole spreadsheet on who was using.
I remember
the fuel
that.
And all that.
Yeah.
And
It was the crazy gas
It
prices.
was
that
kind of
followed
crazy gas
after,
prices. There was no
Because
more-
FY 23 was 22, so that was like the end of COVID and gas prices, insane.
Should have loaded that up, we should have loaded the accounting software.
I mean, right now, it's back to a little over
A lot of
$5,
times with
but
that
I don't
showing,
know about
especially in
diesel.
these accounts that are very
333.
controversial,
What?
there's always
333.
transfers.
Yeah.
So when it looked like we
New
spent
York
just about the right
Set
amount,
fast.
This is probably transfer.
it was transfers. We didn't actually,
Yeah.
we used to budget always 30,000. So are we good leaving it at 60?
I think so.
Yeah.
It's a little bit high, but
That's safe.
it's the kind of account where you don't really know.
And actually,
Yeah.
given what's going on now, I'd be extremely concerned that there may be unexpected fluctuations in fuel prices. Just like
And they
there's
go
going
down
to
because there's gonna
be
be.
expected fluctuations in a whole bunch of things. But that's okay,
We're
they'll
all
all
gonna be
get
growing
better.
our own chickens, right?
I already got
So it's
mine.
not a problem.
That guy that said that, he
He's got
doesn't know
plenty of
shit about raising
chickens. So we
chickens.
got one.
Well, it costs me $15 a dozen. Alright, so he doesn't tell you about how you have to kill them when they stop producing the.
So fuel is 6 months left at 60,000.
One egg.
Yeah,
I apologize, I haven't.
For some reason, ours are producing a lot, in December they did 0.
Okay, so transfer station, we don't have
Daily.
final numbers, but that's
That
a,
night went crazy.
a modest
Yeah.
increase year over year. Group purchasing regional is up $1,000.
Wait, so the transfer station operations, I missed what you said.
I hadn't finished doing that, I just put like a 5% increase on it. just-
Okay,
I hadn't-
right.
I hadn't
Yeah, we got Rogers trucking fee increasing, right?
Well,
Yeah.
for sure, we know that that's going up, but like, they also, there's some pass around tipping, isn't there?
I'm sorry?
Is there pass around tipping? Like, so the Rogers fee is for his transportation, but if the fees for actually tipping it.
Yep.
Per ton go up, Does that pass through, or does he eat that?
I think he eats it, I think because then we get it, we get the.
It was Casella that had the pass through.
Casella, we also been getting charged at the,
On the other end.
the Springfield.
Right,
Yeah. But I have a couple of worksheets I'm going on, I just have to finish it.
And do you, just also besides Roger, we also have to take into account whether the money is there, what we're paying for on some of the other stuff that we have to dispose of.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
refrigerators and blah.
Yeah, we're definitely losing money on refrigerators, the big refrigerators, yeah.
We're not losing money on mattresses. We
No,
ran numbers.
No, we're not losing on mattresses. Most everything is pretty good. The only thing, and I don't think we do a lot, because I've only actually seen one invoice from Casella with refrigerators. And it only had like 2, maybe 3 refrigerators on it, but they were charging, I think, $75 to remove.
But we're also gonna have to start thinking about what, there's a bunch of stuff collecting up there, like, gas cylinders that I didn't think we were supposed to be taking. But we don't, I think they're up there because nobody knows where to take them, so we either have to stop taking them and find a place to take them, or something.
If they're empty, can't they go in metal?
I
Yeah,
believe not.
I think it's pressurized, you can't.
No, we used to have a guy come and empty it out here, we don't have that guy anymore. I thought there was a guy that would come.
No, we've
Can
been
you
struck.
just drill a hole in it?
If I ever got my guns back from Billy Weston, he'd set up on the barrel and shoot it.
God, I'm not coming that day.
You know, guns, it wouldn't be, you
So
know.
highway road maintenance, why is that flag?
Save us a couple $100.
Combined, I think, I don't know. But, sir, I can't remember who flagged.
Okay, so, all right, on the
Let's see.
Yeah.
highway road maintenance,
Yeah, was
didn't
that
we
you?
talk about, because we got a 343,000 from chapter 90, could some of that money be used for some of the stuff we want to do there? I don't know.
It's two different. Chapter 90, there's the paperwork, and it's about, you have to do a whole project. I think highway road maintenance
It's
is,
like regular.
we need some gravel on Dubai Road because it's
Yeah.
mud season.
And that's what they did here, so it used to be gravel roads, asphalt roads, so yeah, so that's what it is. That's
They
where they,
combine the two?
And
That's good.
can we look at some expended though? That'd be interesting.
between the two, yeah.
So the two combined spent,
Let me just, unfortunately, it's not separated out, it's all,
no, but that's fine.
That's fine.
Oh,
it's just not total, you can
that's
see.
total including something else.
Yeah, this is all of it, but this is because in my spreadsheet, it's all in the DPW side.
So
But you can see it right here, this is,
61,000,
So
87,000,
yeah, so here, so this is the.
110,000.
Yeah.
And then what did we budget for this year?
So this was 100 and, this was at 124.9, yeah, this is the 124.
And we're asking for 142.
Is that what, no, is that 142?
that's 142.
142.
Yeah. So,
142.
but look at expended from the last, the smallest expended,
So this is expended FY '24.
look at the smallest and largest you have. So the least year we spent 61,000 and the most was 110. So why are we budgeting 142? If our most was 110.
They put together road maintenance 142, I don't have.
This is a number, I mean, we level funded from last year, but
Yeah.
it seems maybe over budgeted.
Yeah, because it hasn't,
The problem is
nothing's
without,
gone over.
my concern is that Jim may have flagged particular projects, like culverts or whatever, and he's not here to tell us.
They told us it was lever funding though.
Yeah,
Alright, you know, like, I agree, you don't wanna handicap, but also it seems like we argue about $3,000 here and $2,000
Yeah,
here, and
I
then
get
we
you.
never spent more than 110 and we're asking for 140.
Right. So what was the
Maybe we
level
should
funding?
have a little cushion.
level funding would be, level funding would be 142.
But if we're not spending that much, I think to Justin's point, if we're not spending 142,
We
why
could
are
actually decrease
keeping
that.
it at 142?
It's gonna be a bad year to look at this year though, because we didn't have a director of operations
Yeah.
in the office for many months.
Many months. And
So you don't
More
wanna,
than half the year.
you don't wanna get somebody in and then they don't have a budget to work with.
Yeah, it's, the highest it ever got was, to your point, $100,000.
110.
110 over here, it's another.
You wanna put it at 130?
I don't really feel comfortable going down without,
Okay, yeah,
without,
I feel like
but
I'd
I
like to know.
want to definitely
Flag
keep
it.
it on hold.
Right,
Because
okay.
Okay.
it's like Dash or anything, I'm sure there's $142,000 in projects
It
to
could
do,
be done, yeah.
but, and especially when we have what we have in chapter 90,
Yeah.
Which is
a small thing.
It is.
So yeah,
And
chapter
it's not small though.
Chapter 90 is gonna be over $1 million come July.
Yeah. That's good.
Is that?
The scary part is that's one.
We do it for projects like when they seal the roads, paint the stripes, stuff like that, but he hasn't had major projects to do. The last big item was the tractor we bought, wasn't it? We spent $100,000. And then
There's things, so like someday, what if we wanna pave Fairview Road? We could use chapter 90 and that would eat it up pretty quickly.
We had a different grant for the Beartown Mountain Road.
Yeah, so we didn't, that was
Right,
MVP.
Last year they did
Or
some kind
Vance-
of
no, sorry,
special
Vance
gravel
Works.
treatment on, up on their town.
Yeah, they were-
Some kind of crowning.
That was the Mass Works grant, which was $1 million.
was $1 million.
So if we wanna do things like that to other roads,
So
It's-
chapter 90 is an actual fund.
It's a fund, you get paid by mile.
It was budgeted
You get-
every year and spent every year.
No, you can save it up.
Here, I can
If
show
you
you,
go on the-
Steve, right here. So for example, this is our balance as of 4/7/2024.
So that was unexpended,
That was unexpected chapter 90 money. Yep.
unexpended,
Yeah,
okay.
and so we've had several projects. We actually were in FY '24, this was our roadway funds that was given to us, 112, and then at the beginning of FY '25, we got 194. So we've gotten some other monies, additional monies since then. The 112, and this is anticipated, the 353,944.
But before they give it to you, you have to identify a project that.
No.
No.
It's like money in the bank.
no, but before you actually spend it, you have to
Before you
say,
spend-
I wanna do this section of road and this is what. So we use it for, and it was probably the same back then, we use it for larger things, we don't use it for a dump truck of gravel on Dubai Road.
So these are three projects.
It was job specific.
Yeah.
Project specific that you got the
How
money.
long can
No.
No, that's more like an MVP grant or something.
You're kinda right, where,
Go into the local
No, so what happens is there's a road formula that the state uses to determine what the dollars are in the county.
Yeah.
It usually comes once a year, sometimes twice, and then it just sort of sits there in their funds. And then we go and we do a project, we submit a forms and submit those forms to the state through a website. And then the regional rep for Mass DOT looks at that and kind of says, yes, that's okay. And then we
So this isn't our money yet.
technically, no, it's sitting.
We have a portion.
It's been appropriated by the state and
Yes.
earmarked for Monterey.
Yes.
And when we have a project, we can, okay.
Yeah, so technically, you're right, it's not in our bank, it's
No.
over there.
Yeah,
And then
okay.
we submit paperwork to get.
But as far as I know, we've
reimbursed.
never been turned down for a project when we submit
As
it.
far as I know. I mean, as for example, like this, there was, what project is, the art school road paving initially came in at 193,808. They were like, okay, and then it came in at 140. So
The actual expense.
the actual expense of it came in at 140. And so they were like, okay, and they just,
But we still get in our.
Yep.
Balance, we still have the unexpended.
yeah, so right now in our balance of funds, we have $701,060. And there's an anticipation of $353,944, because I don't know if you've read in the paper, they increased the amount of the fund by 300,000. It's like $500,000 every year for the next 5 years. They increased it $1.5 billion over 5 years. And they changed the way that they did funding too. I can't remember the formula, but they changed the
It
formula.
used to be by mile.
so let's keep moving.
Yeah.
No, it's different from what my experience,
Yeah.
when I was town accountant, it was spent every year, it was never.
Some towns do.
And that was never enough to do what the town wanted to do, so we ended up budgeting.
One interesting thing is, and we are due to buy a plow truck next year replace the last F-550, it can now be used to buy a small plow truck.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
really?
changed the gross vehicle weight.
It used to be only dump trucks or loaders, but in the back of your mind.
So I'm gonna sound like,
Well, thank you, that helps, I'm sorry to take the time.
like my colleague on the finance committee, let's get back to the numbers.
So,
Don't raise the money.
group purchasing regional is up.
I'm thinking of yesterday's meeting.
No, I just didn't, it's
What's that?
policy, I had no
Yeah.
idea.
I'm trying to remember where that came from.
So we are in, at Franklin Regional, and
Yeah.
we have to pay something for Berkshire.
Yeah, we do pay something for Berkshire too. Yeah, so that must be where it was. I have to go find the, I think some of these invoices happen, I can't remember them all. So I have to go back and find.
Sadly, I feel your pain.
So you'll just check into it,
Yeah, I'll double check it.
because I just, like, I didn't know if we're adding another
No,
group purchasing that we, okay.
no.
So council on aging outreach coordinator wages.
So this dollar is, the accurate dollar that they are looking for. I went through and physically put it in based on what they were asking. I went and looked at, there was a letter that, that Lynn Seversky has put together. And so that's what the request is, which is really, they're looking to increase to 13 hours a week and $22 per hour.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
13,000.
13 hours per week.
13 hours from 10, from 10 to 13, and then it's $19.80 up to 22, which is the same thing that the community center is asking for, up to $22 an hour, which puts that with Council on Aging and Annabelle all at the same.
Oh, the rate. I mean, I think if for nothing else, for the equity of it, we have to change the wage.
Yeah, the wage. is
Just a question
Is
of-
it quick salary, or is a salary parity?
Yep.
So that's what that shows at that point right there. Library wages, I went through,
But wait,
oh,
can
sorry.
we just talk about COA for one more
Yeah, sure.
minute?
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's right.
do we agree to the increased hours?
Plus the,
Increase
I agree with it.
I mean, it's not a huge number of hours, it adds up over the year, but I think that with our population, we should be doing it.
I think they do a good
And
job.
also
It's
Yeah, it's
successful.
visible.
It's visible, that they're
Visible.
very active, they're, they're doing all kinds of things.
So we'll
Their
take the whole
Parkinson's group, they put the volunteers up, they do,
Yeah.
it's really good, so.
What are the yellow marks on the,
Those are for me to double
Okay.
check and go back through. Some of these I'm still,
that's fine,
Like
I like your color coding, I just wanted to know what the legend was.
the legend unfortunately. So I would like, I would like to bring up something about the COA, and that actually has to do with the micro transit.
Yes.
And,
Right.
they're struggling, they've sent a letter into Great Barrington, Lynn, I've encouraged her to, reach out to Great Barrington. Great Barrington, through the GB Connect, which had 3 names in the past 2 years, I can't remember what they all are. But they increased our assessment from $8,000 to $12,000, and the Council on Aging has been shouldering that for a few years through one of the grants that they have. And so that grant, which is a all-purpose grant for them, is being just used for transportation. It's not being, the transportation provided is not just for seniors or disabled, it's for anybody. And I just got, the last email I got, what I was part of, the person who's running the program said they're anticipating 100 riders a month for Massachusetts. From Monterey. So the council on
What
aging.
has it been, do they know what the number of riders per month estimated?
I saw an estimate on it, it doesn't seem like it's 100, but it's up
No,
there.
but there's a couple people that use it every day, I talked to them about it over the weekend.
Yeah,
Use it every day?
Yeah, because someone's going to work on it
yeah.
every day.
Which I have questions about.
So-
Okay,
I don't know how you do that.
So there is some movement by Great Barrington to, I'll go through and I'll find the letter, the email. There is some movement to change, not necessarily I think there's some movement on their part that they understand. And what their response was basically that we're going to raise the fee of what
They
it
did
costs.
charge a fee, a nominal fee.
Yeah, they charge like $8 now, but they're talking about increasing up to 12 on a one-way
I
trip.
know there's a young man at Gould Farm
Yeah.
who uses that service, he may be the one that uses it every day. And he works as a cook at the credit union, co-op. And he lives at the Connell House. But he left Gould Farm, but he's still a disabled person. I think that's really the essence of it.
Right.
So apparently it's disabled and elderly are the way they
Right.
qualify for transportation. So I know about this particular case.
I think increasing fees makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense,
it
because it doesn't, it seems like a great service, but continuing to underrate it with town money.
So, yeah, so he being, what's his name? I'm sorry. I forget his name right now. But his scenario is that he has two scenarios. All Monterey riders will see a $4 per ride increase relative to other communities, creating a $12 one-way multi-town fare. And scenario two is any Monterey rider who is a senior who has a disability will not see a fare increase relative to other communities, so it'll still be $8 one way, but all other riders will see a $10 per multi-ride relative fare, which means a ride would be $18 to $20.
Like $10 increase, not a 10,
Yeah,
not
so-
8 to 10.
So Monterey seniors and disabled would still pay $8, but everybody else would pay between $18 and $20. That's like scenario two.
For what?
Well, I think that's a council on aging decision.
It is, okay, but, I mean, the interesting thing I thought when we told me previously was that, they used to get, COA used to get data back on who was riding the bus, like what category people fit into, and they stopped collecting that data. So this sounds like they're actually willing to,
Well, we saw a big spreadsheet with a lot of data.
Recently.
Lynn saw it.
this year,
Yeah,
okay.
maybe what was different was they used to tell her who.
I think that's
So
what the difference
specific
is.
names. So they're still
Right.
saying this many senior people went to
Okay.
medical appointments, this many non-disabled, non-seniors went
Okay.
shopping, but
Right.
they're just not saying
Who, right, okay, fair.
because, and if you wanna see it, Roger can share it with you, or I can share it with you, but we got this, it's so big, it's hard to make sense of what you're looking at until you like really stare at it for 10 minutes.
Oh my god,
And so it's broken down.
okay, so the data was there.
Yes. There's not, what's different is they used to tell her Susie is taking it in.
I think it might also have I may have talked to her before she got.
That's possible.
So, what we're saying though, it's not, that expense is not included in this
No.
line
No, it's part of the
because it's paid
grant.
by a grant.
Yeah, because
So it doesn't have a budget impact.
not really, unless
Unless
the
you
town.
wanted it to.
Right, unless the point is, if they get an overall grant from the state, right? And they were using part of it for this and had money left. Now, if they use the whole budget for that, then we might have to be putting in more money into the pot if we wanted their services to be able to happen. I think that was what I understood from Lynn. Would that sum it up?
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes.
But if this solution comes to pass, I guess that would be they wouldn't have to use their entire budget because it would be supplemented by the people riding.
Yeah. So I think that they may have been, they being Council on Aging, would have been willing to spend all of it for transportation,
Right,
but not for transportation for everybody in town, but for
Right.
a specific
not
subgroup.
yeah.
So I think that's how they were looking at it.
Then maybe they need to direct it to the Tri-Town Connector.
Yeah.
Which has some pretty good service and it's actually very reasonable.
All right, well, should we move on to library?
Yes. So the other day, I got a new, updated budget from Mickey for the library, which is all reflected here. And that had to do with the way you were doing 1.4.
We had been doing
1.25.
2.2 and it was 3%.
Yeah, so they had, because they.
And then also we got an increase in the water bill, so we put that in there.
Oh, no, it's
Steve.
not increase until next year. Oh, yeah.
That's right, but we're talking about this next year,
I
yeah.
forgot, we're gonna clean everybody. We're gonna clean the town.
Oh, no, the town hall too.
Yeah, we're gonna get everybody.
And maybe the schoolhouse
Yeah,
now.
we're going to 600.
Schoolhouse, yeah, things like you use water users.
600.
Holy smokes.
And
So
the
it's
town
like you
has
just
5
turn water
shifts.
off. It's
How much is
expensive.
How much is it going?
From 420 a year to 600.
That is a huge percentage.
We
Can we
haven't
do that?
raised the rate in 20 years.
I have a hose and a well.
Good, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
And so because the library has this unique process where they have to spend 20% of their overall budget
Has
on
to be
books,
circulating material.
circulating materials, when you change the budget on one line item, it affects
Yeah.
another line item.
Right, yeah.
So that's why we saw a little bit, that $2,000 increase was the way they do their wages and expenses. So, and I think where did it go? So it's all down in here.
Well, I don't know, I think Mark is way underpaid compared to the police chief, fire chief, and all the chiefs. If all the chiefs are going up to 100 grand plus, I think we need to look at Mark's compensation.
Yeah.
Now he's getting his 3% like everybody else. And actually, we were comfortable with that. And as I said, just if you start raising everybody, because I'm looking at now what Council on Aging and, MCC is getting, community center is getting. And I don't know exactly what the figure works out for the staff, but I will look at that. And
Yeah, I
it
was,
starts-
I was about to ask you,
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
Thank you for anticipating.
What are the
yeah, but I will do that.
What are
You know
the
that.
two other staff, Mickey, doing? What are the two other staffs making?
That's what she
I
just
don't,
said,
I
she
don't
wasn't
have,
sure.
It's very close to 22, right?
yeah, it's close to that, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not gonna worry about it. It's when you
Right.
start hiring people and they're getting,
Fair,
Yeah.
but you know what, if it's close to that, maybe we should make it parity to that.
well, I'll look at it enough to know.
I mean, I know it means taking the other
other
budget too,
wages.
but.
Because I did,
Yeah, that was
I did
just
write it down,
gross.
so it would do that.
That's not broken down individually.
I next had Parks Beach monitor wages,
Mm-hmm.
which, it's my understanding that the previous beach monitor is not gonna be monitoring the beach.
Oh, that I'm not aware of.
And,
Your cousin?
yeah. And I was just wondering
If we had a person in mind.
if we had a person in mind.
Not that, no one has come forward. The only other person who, we could possibly get is, Shannon's.
Boys.
Well, one of their boys was, her oldest son, I think, would step in every so often. I forget what his name is.
Maybe,
So the fact that we contract with Berkshire South is a moot point, and we have to go find our own lifeguard?
No,
It's not like our
this
beach
is,
monitor.
they call it the beach monitor. It's
Oh,
the person who
beach
stands out there.
monitor. Oh, okay.
Park dealing with
Or
the
make
parking
sure you have a
problem.
sticker on.
well, I just didn't know if after a couple of years of doing it, it's a $3,000 expense, but if after a couple of years of doing it, if they know their current person isn't gonna do it, are they gonna go out and hire somebody new? That's just a question for Parks.
Yeah,
What did they find? Did it work? Did it not work?
I've,
There's a
every time I ask or I hear that somebody ask that question, they say it works.
Okay.
Yeah, Tom. So-
That,
What
I
about
was just gonna say, Tom was pretty adamant.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
The only question I have is, and I'm gonna have to talk to Tom about this, on the parks expenses. It's all going up, a lot of it is being driven by, other expenses. He's got a whole list of things that he has, but I'm a little uncomfortable with the mowing because we purchased a new property, and I don't think that's on here. Because if he goes down, because he just lists Green Park, Beach, Bidwell, Brewer, Parade,
Yeah, so,
and he talks about,
Absolutely.
he has a
So-
little schedule down here.
so we didn't really, it's not technically a park at the moment. I'm not saying it couldn't be included in the budget, but it is a good point that it needs to be in the budget, and I had priced it out with Jeff, with Dean, 6 months ago,
I saw that somewhere.
and Scott Amstead does it, and I guess we have to go through the rigmarole procurement. But I'm sure Scott would, well, I don't know, but I assume he'd put in a bid.
What the heck? I'm just looking at the parks thing and the numbers expended are very weird. FY '24 expended on mowing 0?
Well, yeah, so it was accounted very weird
Yeah, it
for
was-
many years.
Yeah.
And so
They're still struggling to try and figure out.
they,
Yeah, cause some of it was a community center.
just look
Do
at
they do
totals.
contracted services?
Just look at totals, because if you
Okay,
get into the weird lines, it was
Okay.
not helpful. Just look at the yeah.
Yeah, so they were doing stuff like, they had things separated out for, end of the year, beginning of the year, contracted service.
But if you look at their totals, they
Yeah.
budgeted 59, spent 57, what about the year before?
Right, but a lot of that was not about mowing, a lot of this is about projects, especially last year, I know that. there
Well,
was
but
some
if you, lifeguard payroll is huge.
FY '24, right? Lifeguard payroll is huge, but that,
Yeah.
again, that's a known.
Okay, parks expenses need some work.
So they have a whole list of things, but I think,
Well, what they do every year is they give us the wish list, and they're used to
Yeah.
this, and then we usually
Cut it back.
find a couple of things that make sense.
Okay, line item, so what I wanna look at is FY '26 line item comments.
what's that?
They had the picnic table, I mean,
I forget where that is. There was,
Just went by, it's up
it's
there,
up, go
up a little bit.
16, up
Yep,
right there.
You're right there. Rule upon park,
where am I looking? Oh, there it is, yeah.
picnic table,
Yeah.
1586, 7.
So I have to,
That much for one table?
yeah, I think they're, handicap
Handicap,
acceptance.
is the ADA.
So they got that big extra space on the end of it.
So probably, you know, the other problem with that doing anything at Brewer Pond is there's no real parking. Because we've decided that that driveway entrance is exclusively for fire trucks.
Yeah.
So you can park on the side of the road and kind of do something, but I was at a parks meeting a couple years ago where they were debating even putting up a sign because there's really not parking.
Yeah.
So
And I don't know how much they could use, because there is a picnic table up there, I think, isn't there a picnic table?
we gotta pare it down, but we also gotta find out mowing and,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, they have, but one of their big expenses though is, an increased expense actually has to do with the bathrooms at the beach.
Stop
Yeah, they
eating
don't
kosher for two portable.
They were getting a lot of complaints that they were full and they were having to call. And I get, there's extra expense. It's one of those things where they can spend a little extra money to put the porta potty there, because the money that they were spending was to call somebody to come empty it. And so they were having lots of complaints from people, and the lifeguards were having to actually go and kind of clean up stuff. So
I think this might make sense for a special article, so it doesn't look like our operating budget is jumping up.
So
Do
just,
we need $10,000 to build a porta potty?
that's what I was thinking, we would use free cash or something, or something.
That's a one-time
Yeah.
it's
thing.
one time.
Yeah.
It does, however, sound like there's two different issues. One, the way you were just describing it, one is the enclosure for the porta potties.
Yeah.
The other is how frequently the porta potties are empty.
Yes.
Those are, one is an operating thing, and the other is a one-time thing, and I'd like to see it separated a little better, because I'm not seeing any numbers on here about the regular maintenance of the, is the regular maintenance somewhere else? Other professional
Normally under their
services, contracted
services
services?
is where they use, yeah,
Water
there's your
testing,
toilets right
beach
there.
phone,
There's your
portable toilet,
portable toilet, green park,
155 a month.
town.
Is that, what was it last year?
So what
Portable
their plan is to have 2 toilets there for, is to have for 7 months, have a, handicap toilet and a regular toilet.
toilet. Okay, and to have them emptied more frequently so that they don't have the problem they had last year.
By having the 2 toilets there, they won't have to empty them
Oh,
as.
do they only have one?
They only had one,
Oh, okay.
yeah, they only had 1 toilet there.
I thought they were replacing.
What about a
existing
toilet
porta-
that's
You're
not
right about
in
a
a-
second one, okay.
That's not in an enclosure.
Like a tree?
No, like,
No, just a toilet, like a porta potty, like every.
Like the lake. no, like,
No
like,
way.
you could get a porta
I
potty.
really
without
killed
being
the
in a-
forward.
You don't have to have a
And a
little
wood
stockade
fence.
around.
I know, I think they, for privacy of.
I think you're getting a little carried away.
It's the way it is right now.
Well,
There's a
how much is
stockade
it-
fence in front of it.
but what I'm just saying is how about that you leave the handicap porta potty in the stockade fence and you put a single one next to it? We see how it does over the summer. Maybe they're constantly picking up empty porta potty juices.
I think it's people, actually, ironically, I gotta say,
You have to call.
I'm pretty sure that what they're picking up is debris that people leave in that enclosure. You remove the enclosure, you're probably gonna remove the debris, because people aren't gonna drop it there because they're gonna be safe. Like, that's my hunch, because I remember going to the beach and being like, why are people dropping stuff in this enclosure? That's gross. So I don't think they're picking up, people aren't going into the stockade and defecating behind the stockade, but not in the porta potty. I think what's happening is people are like dropping their trash in there for whatever their own reason is. But having to call for more frequent emptying of the porta potty is a separate issue, I think, from cleaning up the trash around
I can
it.
see right
But
now.
yeah, how about
Take
just-
an hour of town meeting.
Alright,
I
so,
know, but how about just
Fire department,
skip the
like I say, it's gonna
stockade and
be
get a
about
stockade.
10
second
There are
porta
other,
potty.
so actually, of all the things that they've asked for,
Right,
it's the bicycle pump and repair station.
Yeah.
that's the biggest step, right?
I don't think it makes sense. Steve, who's the most avid bicycle rider on the Parks
Who's
Commission,
Steve?
always says that bicyclists that are serious carry their own stuff.
That's true.
And he bicycles, you know, when it was -5 degrees this winter, he's bicycling.
Right.
So $3,100 to maybe help I think that's a good Eagle Scout project. I don't
Yeah,
think-
right.
Yes, it's true.
I love
That's
that.
a good,
It's a good Eagle Scout, right?
Because even, I know, I hear what you're saying about the stockade, but it's literally like $600 to build the stockade.
But did you include the Sackcrete?
Yeah, so it's $480 for the stockade sections, $152 for the posts, and then $60.
Who's doing the work?
for the Zachary. Tom.
Alright, it's 7:15. Shall we pick back up next week on Parks?
Sure.
Yes.
Sounds like a plan.
Do we have a schedule for next week?
We have a schedule, but she back at 5 next week?
We'll be back at 5, they'll be back at 6.
And if you guys want to look at the, if you get a chance to look at this spreadsheet again, I've added a couple lines here. I put in this free cash stabilization debt, a tab,
And a levy limit down?
and a levy limit tab, that's just me.
And special articles, you put special articles
I
there.
did have that for a little while, I'm gonna do that,
I see it right there.
Oh, yes, so the free cash, those are your special articles.
Okay.
So it's free cash stabilization debt. Yep.
I can
So-
be here.
We'll put FY 26 requested in that little thing.
You can put it right there, whatever you want to put. I added the police cruiser down here. I just haven't put any monies in. For free cash.
69,000, do it right now.
Is that what it is,
Did he
69,000?
decide what he was gonna buy? Because when he did the budget meeting, thought he didn't know if he was gonna do like a.
Steve,
Yeah.
Steve, adjourn?
Yes. I vote. So you've actually got a levy calculation in your spreadsheet?
I'll tell you what I've done, Steve.
We can talk about that. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Finance committee is adjourned.
Yes.
Now, Steve, and your other questions, I think if you wanna dive into it, maybe Roger can set you up with the accountant, because that's just nothing that we know at this table.
Yeah.
That is high level, or the treasurer, like you said.
You know, it's really funny because
I remember it kind of was interesting this year when Berkshire County Retirement Account was a check,
old ones are too.
like the second day of fiscal year.
Conversations.
We had to run a separate warrant. I don't know where the money came from, but it happened. They did it all the time.
They do have, the town has money
It could
that's
just
left.
be, they're sitting over here.
In
There are funds,
Yeah.
and cash is fungible, so.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
I know
have
I've done-
one bank account and it's really
The thing
represents
is-
6 funds,
Most
So,
people
you
send, a
know,
lot of people send.
you can
me
spend outside bank account,
Yeah.
you know, it's really straightforward, it's that way, and so sometimes it gets there.
I mean,
I just, and maybe when I was accountant, you know, they kept accounting and treasurer.
Yes.
I never saw a bank statement. I wasn't allowed to look at the bank
It
statement.
seems really nice.
You can only see what the town had voted on.
So I learned, the bank, the treasurer, reconcile all this.
Yes.
And I would tell the treasurer what the letter, and she would say, yeah. I never saw a bank statement, but it's locked up.
That's a good check and balance.
It's not very good, really, that's one person has everything. So like as an accountant, I'm just, it's like,
Yes, right,
I used to audit internal control.
Yep.
You know, when I got here and saw that, that's the craziest thing.
Yeah, I have.
I went to.
And actually, I have some sheets with these numbers on.
Because he was on the finance, he was CPA,
Yeah,
too.
I'm just trying.
Stanley, this is nuts. They considered it. Previous.
I know there's like
been around
There's
forever.
statements
That
or
was
sheet.
good internal control.
I have to talk to
The accountant never saw a bank statement,
Never
never had
I know.
access to checks, which is fine. Not seeing the bank
I know.
I was just gonna say, I don't see any problem
This is
seeing
like
the
this-
statement. We're trying to make sure they don't do something nefarious, access to the checkbook, but.
But then we weren't getting audits, we finally got audited, and then the treasurer couldn't account for $45,000.
In the paper, they said.
It was, she had too much money, not, it wasn't that she didn't have
Right,
enough.
right, yeah.
But still, $45,000.
That's a bad problem.
So the auditors were kind of like, come on, what's going on? You know, and it went on forever. I can't help it.
Oh.
I can only give them so much.
Right.
And I post whatever the treasurer says. She would say, okay, I deposited $50,000, I would post $50,000. But I never saw the
Yeah.
money, and I never saw it.
Right,
It was kind of
Okay.
weird.
weird.
It was a really weird thing to be the accountant and not have access to
You know, and it's.
substantiating documents. I don't know what to do.
Well, maybe it's worth a conversation with her, just to get up to speed on the current.
It seems like now they have a pretty good working relationship for the same company or something. The accountant and the treasurer.
No, the treasurer is Mass Beautiful,
I have to.
Sarah Hunter, and the accountant is Eric Kincher.
Yeah, there's this.
But I think that they, where you might be right is, I think they might work in other towns as accountant treasurers.
I didn't know that.
So in this segment, they're different contractors.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily do the work, they have people that work for them.
Eric is technically our liaison, he's the name of the
Yeah.
company. And Sarah is technically our liaison, and she's the owner of the company. But they also have underlings that do the,
So they're two different
Contact
companies.
these guys.
Yeah.
Accountant
But
and
they,
treasurer.
they already cut.
it's actually, Steve, we have a problem where we have two people. Because there's
Yeah.
3 or 4 people that we work with at the account, 3 or 4 treasurer.
And they don't always
They don't
talk to
always,
each other.
they don't always know what's going on.
Yeah.
Sometimes better to have just one person.
In town,
Yeah.
that you can talk to, would be nice,
Bill and
but.
Ted.
What about the audit?
So we got the one audit back,
Oh, they already did it? Did they?
they did FY 23, I think.
No, that-
We're just getting quick question, Roger, can you give us an update on the audit? I think they did finish FY 23, right?
They did finish what we were doing.
But they're going back through the other year.
Yeah, the 1 year, I got an email a while back. They were looking for some documents and I was struggling to find them. So I have to go back and find the email. But they finished everything. There was just that one they were missing. Which one? I can't remember now which one we were missing.
So
Yeah,
they're doing,
they're doing
2024 and
Yeah.
2023.
Three, and now they're going back to
Yeah, they
2023,
were
so we have
doing
3
22.
consecutive
Oh, they're
years.
going back to 2023.
Yeah, I
Because
have,
if you have 3 consecutive years, it's considered good practice now to have 3 consecutive years, and it also puts you in a different category when you're running a grant.
So now we're gonna have it done every year, right?
yes.
Okay.
3 years.
Town administrator updates?
Yep.
The only thing I have, sorry. I got, I have a meeting, Wednesday, I thought it was yesterday. I had this, seasonal communities that the state just doing
Yeah.
locally. I think Stockbridge is a seasonal community as well. Yeah, Stockbridge was a seasonal
Right
community.
out.
So on Wednesday, which is I'm going
Our money was actually
up there to figure out what it's all about and whether there's any value in it. Because I also received an email with a letter from the state saying that if we have to vote, it has to be voted on at the town meeting if we want to become a seasonal community. And I'm just trying to figure
It
out
was great.
what value.
She said the same thing.
So-
What, yeah, what are both the obligations and the benefits, like, because how do you make a decision without
Find out why
knowing?
one
You try to read the line,
for certain service and-
there's no clarity.
No, it's kind of vague, and it seems like it's geared more
Yeah.
towards the Cape, places like that, the Cape and the
The people who
Islands.
like
And it is for some
things like that.
Yeah, well,
So,
that thing
a
was
lot of
interesting.
them is around housing and that
I
sort
put
of
in
stuff.
like Monterey.
I also
Photo.
received a letter
Was 6 million.
from,
Heard me talking tonight. I was
Sheffield.
asking What was special?
they're
about it.
hoping to put together, and I'll reach out to on dates, they're hoping to put together
Approved
some
expenditure,
select board
not
people
what they show on
to
the
talk about that,
line item.
the incident that they had to shelter in place recently.
6 million,
But
they paid.
remember they had, it happened a while back.
Right.
Steve, sorry. Steve,
You guys, can you
sorry.
guys leave the room?
Sorry.
Sorry, but it's hard to watch over, sorry.
So they had a recent lockdown. It had to do with,
It was at the school.
it was actually at the school.
Oh, yeah.
And so they want to kind of have it, they want to get everybody together.
Well, I have the times right here, Tuesday, March 18th at 6 PM, or Thursday, March 27th at 6 PM.
Yep.
So I think we meet on Tuesdays, so we'll say Thursday.
Right, okay.
I'll get back in touch.
Thursday, March
27th at 6 PM. I'll respond.
You know what also, why are we doing it, not the school committee?
That's,
Well, I think because it was not it was because of the first responder aspect of it. I think they want to talk about that as opposed, so that's why it's a Sheffield, select board reaching out.
Yeah. I just don't know, I know sometimes the Sheffield Select Board is like, I don't know recently, but sometimes they don't get along with the school district, and I don't know the details.
Yeah.
I just
that
don't,
was the cop that responded, so.
yeah, it's town resources and,
Is the police chief or would Brian go?
I can reach out, but this is basically, it's
So the
looking at the
select
select boards.
Yeah.
So they're looking to actually have subsequent meetings with the school committee.
so the only question is, should we send a member? Or should we call a meeting?
Send a member.
Send a member, I mean, like, if we're doing the
I think you
fire
go,
department thing on the 29th, I can pretty much guarantee
Well,
I am not
here's
going
what,
on the 27th.
here's what I can do.
Yeah.
I can go because I'm not doing the fire stuff.
Okay.
Fine.
well, you do the fire stuff and I'll go.
Something you can't recuse himself.
I can basically participate on this.
Okay, so you want me,
I'll go.
you want to respond? You want me to
I'll respond,
Okay.
and I'll go.
Alright.
Let me just check that I can go.
Um,
Now they said I'm
Yeah,
going.
cause we have a.
When's that baby?
This Thursday,
Oh, darn it.
We what?
we got the planning board.
Yeah,
Yeah.
on Thursday.
We're having a,
I can technically go.
You can. We're having another joint meeting next week,
Yes.
because I forgot to mention the insurance stuff. We have to sign up, we have a form that's been sent that, says what our insurance rates are, and we have to sign it and get it back by April 1st.
Okay.
But there's also some things that, we should probably have a conversation about, whether or not we say yes or no to. But the representative from Maya was like, you've got a really good insurance. And like, there's little things that you could change here or there,
This
It
is
would-
for health insurance?
health insurance, that would lower some of your costs. And the overall cost probably would be like 5 or 6% on that.
Lower?
We could lower it by 5%?
Yeah.
Huh,
What, I guess the question is, what are you
yeah,
giving them?
what are you losing, right?
Well, but basically, we have really good copays. Really good.
Right.
Like $10 copays where people are paying 25 or 30. We have, I forget what it is, but there's some service if you go into the hospital and you have tests done, there's like no charge. Where other places she's like recommending, $250 or $270 co-pays to go in.
For like emergency room visit?
No, it's like if you were gonna go in for, I'd have to get the spreadsheet to see, but go in for tests or those sorts of
If
things.
there's one thing I'm just gonna put out there that is gonna bother me about this contract, as much as I'd like to save the money. If health costs went up 12.2% and salaries went up 3%, and where they're paying 25%, that's gonna eat up pretty much their entire raise.
Especially in the part-timers, or the, like, the,
I think he
the
comes
benefited
up with-
part-timers.
Right, but I'm not sure it's just a benefited party, because a 3% raise.
Yeah, but their costs would drop 5% too, wouldn't it? If they're doing the copay.
Yeah, I'd have to go find.
So if they're doing the copay, I don't know how I feel, but I'm trying to.
So
Right, but
I can
the
come
thing
up with the numbers.
But the copay, if
So-
it's $270 to get blood work,
Yeah, but how often do you do that?
at least once a year, and if you
Yeah.
have any ongoing condition, a lot more than that.
So,
So I have a question, before we get caught up in the details of health
Right.
insurance, what is, you said it at the beginning, but repeat the timeline for this decision being made.
By April 1st.
Okay, and we need to choose health insurance policies that we're going with by April first.
We have to sign this that says this is what our dollar rate is.
And we can either just go ahead and renew what we did last year, or we can,
Yep, I can reach out and say, this is what it's gonna be.
and so
then
did
we
you
can
ask about a
decide.
joint meeting because you're thinking that a
I'm thinking-
representative could come and present?
If you wanna do that, or I was thinking that they might wanna have a conversation about the financial side of it.
It's all financing.
I know, but they're not here right now,
Yeah.
so that's why I was like,
I'd love to hear a representative tell us what the options are, I'm just
I can
really
talk to them.
concerned of what it's gonna, because, you know, you can say, well, their copay, their payment will go down on the cost of the policy, but if the payment goes down $30 a month, and over the course of the year, that's, what is that, 30 times 12, 360, but they're gonna pay that in one copay for blood work, that's,
it's,
What's
Yeah,
your,
but what are they
what-
paying now for blood work?
what,
I
well,
think
I don't
we
know the
have to have the
specifics.
details.
right, we need the details, is my point, now, no.
Hey, zero, I don't know, what's the detail?
yeah, I am really against these copay things, because what I see happen is people do not get the care.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not gonna have that test, which will save my life if I have that test, and then I'll be sicker and it's gonna cost somebody more. It just, to me, is horrible.
Yeah,
It's a
but I,
horrible way to
yeah,
work.
no,
it.
I agree.
And I know people that have done that.
I think there may be, you can almost, itemize which ones you want to increase or decrease. And I'm gonna lay it right out there for myself, right? I go to a chiropractor and I pay, for the first 12 visits, I pay a $10 copay, which is like what I was paying 15 years ago as a copay. And so even saying like, and I'd be willing to pay 20. If you increased it to 15 or 20, it brings it down small percentages. It's things like that, like
Yeah,
to
but
Mickey's point,
those
to
big
Mickey's point,
things-
to the big things, maybe we keep those, but maybe
Yeah.
the smaller things, we say, we can increase this 15% or.
It's like a decide your own adventure, choose your own salad topping.
Yeah.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
like that.
Well, at least they're giving you the option.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
the other
God knows
thing-
what's gonna happen in the marketplace for people that are on it, because with Medicaid being cut and Medicare being cut,
Yeah.
a lot of those things may hit people really hard.
And the
It's
other
gonna be
thing
very
too is there's things that we can add to it, which I was just gonna add. We don't have a site plan, an eye doctor plan.
Oh.
And if you add that to it, it literally like drops it down like 0.5%.
Wait, we
Like,
do have it or we
we
don't have
don't.
it? Okay.
So adding it to it like brings it down a teeny bit by
Wait,
adding it to it.
having a vision program brings
Actually
it
lowers it.
down?
Actually lowers it.
That makes no sense at all.
You have to talk to them.
So,
You figure out insurance or pretty
So,
smart.
But anyway, I'll talk to Wendy, see if she wants to show up next week.
Yeah,
You wanna see if she wants to
Yeah.
come next week?
yeah.
I'll see if she'll come at 6
I
o'clock.
think we can get through the rest, I know we can get through the rest of the budget. Our
for the
first
flag,
pass,
right,
and then we'll have to for the next couple of weeks after that, nail down the last little pieces, but, maybe at 6 next week.
Is there, this is my first time putting this budget together the way that I'm putting it together. Is there anything on it that you feel you're missing,
Well, get those special articles put in for next week.
which are just the two, or just the one, right?
Well, but put in OPEB contribution and retiree health and life
Okay,
as special articles.
I just,
Put in Southern Berkshire ambulance and the police cruiser.
Yeah.
What else did we do last year?
because I had put the retirees in as a line item under, lower down.
I think year by year we'll add things in that really need to be in the operating budget, but if we do it all at once, we just really are.
Yeah.
It's just
Tanking it up.
not.
Last year we took out, and you had some of the debt service in line, in.
Yeah,
articles.
The debt service. So
Required and
What
then
we should
extra.
do, Roger, is
So, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Required principal.
take the debt service, you didn't get minimum pay downs from Sarah?
Not yet, no.
Get minimum pay downs, and then I can look at the numbers based on minimum pay downs and tell you what we would wanna do out of free cash
Mhm.
based on our plan last year, because we had certain plans like pay this one down in 3 years, pay this one down in 4 years.
So the thing about the retiree piece, I noticed, is that we may have put too much money in.
To open.
No, when we did that retiree special article,
Yeah.
it's like $30,000.
No,
I'm
we
not
put 30,000 into OPEB, the trust, and we paid about 17 or 19 out of to the actual benefit.
Yeah, I have to go look and I'm gonna go double check and see what the retiree health insurance dollars, I think I actually, it's actually on that.
You spent
On it.
ages on that last year. I'm pretty sure we got it right.
I actually have a spreadsheet that I put together, but it's
No,
it's under $30,000.
It was last year at annual town meeting.
Yeah.
I said that we had only done $50,000 for the Lake Garfield Working Group one time. Steve Snyder said, no, you did it twice. I went back to previous town meeting warrants to check, he was right, I was wrong. But in going through them in the middle of town meeting, I found that every year we'd been paying OPEB differently.
Right.
And I was like, oh
Oh,
my
no.
gosh, I forgot OPEB existed. We created OPEB, we transferred everything into OPEB
And then you,
in like FY '21, and then we forgot about it.
Mhm.
And we, some years paid,
Anyway, but I'll figure out what the retiree, I'll put all that stuff in.
well, last year,
Cause I figured it out and it's like 20, it's actually, it was on there, I have a spreadsheet for it on that.
Okay.
It's at,
For what, OPEB?
yeah,
No, I closed it.
yeah, it's.
last year we
no, for
voted,
retiree.
last year we voted for 18,635.
Budget right there. And you click on that right there.
This one?
Yeah. And so if you scroll down here, that's what we should be paying for the retiree health insurance.
Well, last year we budgeted 18,635.
And now it's 23,700.
And that might be short, we'll see.
So that, we did probably pretty good last year. Okay.
All right, so I'll put those in as, special articles. And under that one, under that.
And then we can see what kind of free cash we're working with. But I need the minimum debt numbers from Sarah,
I'll get those from them.
and then I can calculate the additional payments.
Okay. All right, what else? Is that all?
That was,
I know there's things in the back of my mind, but.
I know, we were talking about getting Southern Berkshire ambulance in, and you were gonna put together a letter for
I'll
that.
get the last report.
There are two things I would like to see us ask, get their summary of service for Monterey over the last 12 months,
Yeah.
instead of like the quarterly reports, give us a year. And I would like that to include response time from dispatch for arrival at scene, which I think it typically does, but
Last time I looked at it.
yeah. And the second thing is the number of days in the last, I said last 365 days, but either the last fiscal year or the last calendar year, whatever. I want a year's worth of how many days out of 365 did they actually have 2 ambulances and 2 crews operational and in the field?
Yeah, I was gonna ask them how many shifts, cause they run it, you could get it by, you might have the shift in the morning, but the guy doesn't show up or whoever doesn't.
I'm fine with shifts, as long as it also includes how many shifts are in a year.
Well,
because so many different
I know, but I'm gonna
shifts.
ask them how they man it, well, how many shifts a week?
Staff
staffing? I already started to list it up. How do you staff it? What is your staffing?
At the end of the day, what I wanna know is they're supposed to have 2 ambulances staffed by, like, they're supposed to have 2 crews in 2 machines at 24/7. I would like to know, of the last 365 days, how many days was that true? That you had 2 crews and 2 places, because they were short, and you're gonna get back, well, we were short-staffed, but now we have more staff, and we
No,
have
I
this
told-
ambulance out of service.
I talked
Just
to
tell
Jim.
me, in 365 days, how many days were the 2 crews in 2 ambulances actually running? I think it's important to know. And I know it's a complicated answer, and it might be an unpleasant answer, and they might say, well, we're in better condition
Well, you
now,
know, when I
but I'd
pushed
still
him,
like to know that.
when I pushed him on the phone, he said that he's very close to people, paramedics are committed to them when they're finishing their training.
Right,
So he felt confident that he is turning the corner on staffing.
I
That's great.
heard somebody told me that they're getting close to three crews.
3 crews.
3 crews.
Which is great, so then he can say, we
But then,
had
you know,
this, but now we're here, and I'm fine with that, but.
Look, everybody has a staffing problem, and the question is, you know, what are they doing about it?
And this sounds like they're going in the right direction, but I'd still like the answer, because there's also the question of how many days were the ambulance is offline? The machine,
Yeah.
the car,
Because of
Yeah.
the road.
whatever, because it broke, or it
also-
needed maintenance.
I
or
also
needed
reached
repair.
out to Steve Wall about those reports
Mhm.
that you asked about.
Yeah,
He's on vacation.
of course, yeah,
Kevin,
well,
Kevin, yeah.
right.
And he's on vacation, but I reached out to a couple of.
Is it
people to see if
possible
I could get 'em.
you got them, but
I
they're
looked
just buried in
I
there, and
looked and I couldn't
some of them,
find anything.
okay, and I know this search feature is not ideal, so, okay, those are my 2.
So I got a question is trying to, you know, Susan and I gotta, working with others, decide what's the remaining level. But I wanted to see a picture of the overall budget, because we have 2 options on the table based on the meeting the other day, like the 12-hour shift or the 48 off 96. So I wanted to try to get a picture of where we are totally. You know, we need to understand that. We can
Totally, like the whole budget, or totally for the fire department?
The whole budget. You know, we can plug in the number, the lower number, and then plug in the upper number, but we have to be confident of everything that we have in there.
The rest of the budget, not just fire department, or just fire department, all the other numbers are in there already.
Yeah, but there's a couple of numbers you're gonna fine tune.
Couple here and there, yeah, I have to fine tune,
For the overall budget, or for the
Yeah,
fire department?
the overall.
Overall budget, okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah. Like the education, we gotta.
Right,
confirm
yeah,
with
yeah.
that. That's a big ticket number, if we, you know, I'll make a list, and then we can do it, because that could change, in my opinion.
Yeah,
We
it
could
will.
say, we need to go with the less now because of this number.
Yeah,
yeah, I think the school's the big one, another one
Well,
that's.
the health insurance is a big one too.
Insurance is $165,000.
Yeah.
So, but that has a buffer in it too, but I don't, we'd have to look and see what that's actually in that.
Yeah, but
In
it's
that-
still part of the budget, because you always gotta have that buffer.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
take it out.
So there's a spreadsheet that's in that budget folder in there that is the numbers that I put together based on what we were given in that letter.
So Susan, my next question is, when do you wanna meet again?
sorry, I just went to this.
Delete it.
Yeah.
What? No, I didn't do that, I looked at that,
There's a,
12% budget increase over last year.
I know, but see, that's why we need to know that number.
Yeah, I know, last I looked, it was 7.8.
Yeah, well, you put it.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually-
that's what we need to do.
Actually, when I put the 800,000, I had the 800,000 in there, that's kind of where it was at.
But I went down, and it still.
Did you put in the 670?
Yes, you brought that down, and it's still at that.
That hasn't changed much.
But 120,000 ought to have changed it somewhat. What else went up? What did we put up? We brought down a couple of things, and we did.
Well,
put
we went
anything
up on
today?
police,
I don't
we
think
went
it's
up,
actually changed that. That's kind of what it's been for, that's probably what it's been for a while now, yeah.
Okay.
we changed the stuff, we took the stipend out of the fire department, we brought the fire
We did.
department down. We went a little bit increase on the police.
Yeah.
We brought down, salt, snow removal.
Yeah, and
Our election worker wages are gonna go down a little bit. Did Amanda work at all on that? You
Oh,
know,
I know, I didn't see it yet.
One way to do it is, we had 3 or whatever, figure out how many elections. We had 3 elections this year, we're doing 2 next year, divided by 3 times 2.
Yeah.
She's brand new to
No, I know.
Monterey, she's not gonna know the ins and outs of who's gonna be available, maybe that's what we gotta do.
Yeah,
for
I'm
both
just,
those
I'm gonna, she's coming in tomorrow, so I was gonna talk to her tomorrow about the budget and how to figure that out. But yeah, that's probably gonna go down a little bit too.
So Susan, back to my original question, what do you wanna meet? Do you wanna do another Monday or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We're in the groove, man.
Do you wanna do it earlier?
I'd rather,
I'd rather.
breaks up it makes my
Right,
day.
yeah, I understand,
10
but
AM Monday?
that's fine with me. Can you do that? It's just,
But yeah, I just,
we can invite the finance, but I think,
If they
you know,
can't, I know, but we need to make some decisions.
I'll just double check, I can't. The council on aging meets, I think they only meet once a month, but they've already met, so I'll just double check.
Okay,
okay, let us know, I'll look on the road. All right, we'll try.
because that's killing me, that number.
It's not,
12%?
it's really a
Really
mixture of
not.
things though. It's
I know.
a mixture of things, it's
But
not
it's
just that
fair.
number.
Of course it's not,
Yeah.
but the percentage increase at the end of the day is a
Yeah.
lie.
But-
It's a lie.
But it's really about the other piece when you start looking at the levy limit with all that calculation that brings it down to what we're supposed to be
At
raising.
the end of the day, 12% is a lot. It's a lot for the taxpayers, it's a lot for everybody, right?
Take it down
12% is a lot.
Change that big number down to 300,000 and see how it changes.
We can't change anything, Roger.
I know,
Even
thank goodness. We'd be all sitting here looking at each other, who's got the right one?
That's exactly what happened last year.
Who's got the right spreadsheet?
I mean, right now, I want to put Lake Garfield back in the special. It's only one more year.
Careful what you wish for, right?
Oh my God.
Can we get into minutes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please, anything else?
That is me directly, right?
Leave you 2 minutes.
What's that?
I'm gonna leave you 2 minutes.
And then after minutes, we'll discuss, the library debt. You know, the other thing, Nikki, that I'm worried about is I don't wanna pay the library debt too aggressively because it keeps
Then you
you
get rid of
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps you here.
You should just make a proposal, and take the stabilization and pay off the library. Then you would have all your nights free.
Oh my God. All right,
3-4, I see
3-4.
edits from Susan on 3-4.
yep, so they're pretty minor.
Yeah, I saw them, I sent it back out after, I was comfortable.
Okay.
So I make a motion that we approve 3-4-25 minutes.
Second,
Call vote,
yes?
yes.
Susan, did you see that the one change I did on the minutes from 3-3?
I didn't, is
There,
it in the
it's on-
email?
It's only on the back, it wasn't this year, it was in 2024.
New building permits,
Alright.
right, okay. Hold on, let me find it. 3.
Did you see Annabelle wrote a note about missing minutes?
Yes,
Yeah.
I got
What?
back to her.
No, I missed this, what?
There's not really missing minutes. There's, the last couple of weeks haven't been posted because we just approved them.
Okay,
And then May 4th was annual town meeting.
yeah.
She did what she was tasked, and she did what she was tasked.
I tell you, it was good, I thought it was great, the follow-up, hey, this, I caught the one on the annual town meeting.
So annual town meeting, and then the other one, I'm just gathering the documents.
I know, but
So then I gave Annabelle a project. So we're all squared away.
what's the project?
Gathering documents for minutes, because basically minutes are posted when all the documents are gathered. We're not legally required to post the documents, but we do.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we have 6 out of the 7 documents, and that last one is hard to track down.
Yeah.
So it gets posted
Mhm.
without that 7th document. But a list is kept of all of the missing documents. And every month, there's a 1 or 2 that aren't posted with the minutes. Now Annabelle knows what they are, and she's gonna try to track them.
All right, Susan, I make a motion that we approve 3-3-25 select board meeting notes.
I will second,
Vote?
yes.
Okay.
Can I see
Oh, let me send you, I just made his changes and I'll send it to you. Does that work?
Yeah, but can I see that for a second? Cause I just wanna let you guys know that if it's a little different, I'll just change the formatting at the top and the bottom to be consistent.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, no, it's very similar, but were there any documents used?
No.
Okay.
No,
I'm
we
just gonna-
we didn't have spread, it was all discussion and that.
Okay.
I didn't print anything out.
I'm just gonna add things like documents used, none, and stuff like that, to
Okay.
keep it.
Sure.
And then I'll do the minutes from this week's meeting.
Do you want me to send you the one that I
From this
just did?
Not to this, no, the one we had on.
Yesterday.
While you were working.
Do you want me to send you the thing with his?
Yeah, if you don't mind,
I
I
don't
think I
mind.
have it from him, but yeah, that can't hurt.
Well, it's.
I don't think I sent this one out, I sent the older one.
Oh.
The 320, or the,
3.
yes. No, that's 3.
Craig resent 3/3/25,
I did, okay, didn't remember.
Okay,
so I should have everything.
Yeah.
alright, then you should be good.
And it's not missing if it's a week old.
No.
It's not, it
Hey,
wasn't.
but I like
It wasn't on
the
the
fact
website.
she's on the task, man.
Oh, it's another website.
She's on it, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I mean, she just
How's
taught
she
me,
doing with invoices?
you know what it shows though, we have the rest of it, it's squared away.
Yeah.
So,
So we've actually put together, her and I put together a shared document, and she just writes things in there she's interested in learning, and I write things in there that projects or things that she should be doing, and we just move forward.
I have a question for her.
Yeah.
Does she have time, and would it be a good work project, and the answer can be no, to take the minutes for Thursday night?
Thursday night, no, she can do it. I'll ask her. This is coming Thursday?
Yeah, only if it works.
Yeah.
It's a planning board
she just-
meeting, yeah, I had her do it, cause my wife didn't get forced to do it.
I'll ask her. I actually suggested that, I said after the budget, we've had the joint meetings, I suggested that she actually come to one of the meetings and just observe and take minutes on her own.
Yeah.
And then compare them, to like, if you were gonna do the minutes, and just compare and see what happens.
Well, if she's gonna compare, we might as well just use her.
I just wanted to see,
It's like a trial run to see
Yeah.
how,
But
like,
no, I'll ask her. about
because
that.
we had a lot of trouble breaking in that
Yeah.
last one.
Well, I think it's just,
I don't
it
know
just
how
stinks
many
to
hours I
write
spent
minutes,
redoing
don't
this.
Or someone else is
Yeah.
writing
You
minutes.
can say it, Phil, man.
Yeah, so I mean, we can, I'll ask her about that.
I also
We'll figure it out.
She should have enough.
suggested to Roger that he consider making her the zoning board secretary, because there's a time clock on that.
Yeah.
Roger's had a hard time keeping
I would
it
do
up to
that,
date,
definitely.
and John's like ready to blow a gasket.
Yeah.
So, because, and as I
And
was
that'll
sitting
buy
in our
a
meeting
little
today,
gases.
somebody came by, the lawyer from one of the clients came by to find out if the documents were ready, and they're not ready, so I'm just feeling like,
Oh, I'm all on board.
All on board, yeah.
Yeah, good.
Good.
She's interested in working. She's
Do
interested.
you think she can do the ZBA stuff? We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think so. To me, you know, the most,
pretty straightforward.
it's pretty straightforward. The most complicated thing out of the whole thing that I found are just the minutes, because it's sometimes very
Well, you know
technical
what?
minutes.
You know what,
But I
have
kinda
her
worked
do it,
around
and she can send it to John.
Yeah.
And John can
Train her.
red line it and train her and do that, because it's something off your plate.
And it's a thing that has like a really sharp timeline, and if she can dedicate that time so they just get done on schedule, it would be great.
And Board of Health, have her do Board of Health, if also that works.
Oh, they just canceled their next meeting, so. Yeah, we can.
Okay.
But she wants more hours. She would work more if she could.
Question, do we wanna, like, with all the budget stuff on there, do we wanna continue to look at the personnel policies, or do we wanna kick it down the road a little bit? I'm okay with either end.
Let's kick it down the road, cause we gotta get prepared, I got a few days
I know.
out of town next week, at the end of the week, and then we got the presentation.
29th is like around the corner, and I'm starting to have a panic.
Okay, so we're pausing personnel policy.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, I
It's
think
waited
it
this
is.
long, man.
Yeah. There's a lot of people waiting out front.
Are you starting your car?
No, I'm checking the 29th. I was checking on what's my calendar.
But you should start your car. so-
I don't need it,
Oh, it's
it'll be warm.
Turn the AC on.
I turned the heat on before.
AC,
You can, that's nice.
No, I know, but they're in AC right now.
Be warm enough, I was checking my calendar.
Oh my god,
Okay.
I actually got on a horse
Oh,
yesterday.
I have one more question.
Go.
Sean wrote me like last night, it's all blur. They wanna bring 6 people on per diem firefighters. He said, does it need to be on an agenda and discussed at the select board level? They're all currently firefighters.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't.
The
He
only
didn't tell me
thing-
who they were, he asked me what to do, and I said, talk to Justin, he likes to have their names on the thing, but he never mentioned that they were all current.
They're all
firefighters.
current. It's Darian Hulin, Tyler Collins, Seamus Garrity, Alec Morrison, Enrico Simeone, and Dennis McCarthy. They're all,
So, he-
What if, aren't they already firefighters?
yes.
yes, but this would be paid per diem
So
rather than
here's
shift.
one thing that I want though. Offer letters or something of that nature, so that there's
Okay.
clarity.
Yep, good idea.
On,
Yeah.
are there benefits? Basically, if you're per diem, no. But you are per diem, this is at will, this is the hourly rate.
I want to, what
This
is the,
position
hour-
is an unbenefited
what is
position.
the hourly rate he's giving them?
I think it's,
I
they're,
can't remember
I think
what it
it's
said.
26 for a firefighter.
Okay.
I think that there needs to be a lot of clarity in a letter,
Right,
and that goes to the treasurer, so it can be put into Harper's payroll time and attendance.
Yeah, because they're all gonna be, it's all gonna end up being, like a personal action form. Because they're already employed. So it's not like, because that's what I was thinking, if they're
but it's a
already
new,
employed.
but they're
But it's a
employees,
new
so
kind of
they're in the
position.
system, but it's a new position and
Yeah.
the offer letter
But
has
I
reflected
got a
the position,
question.
besides
So,
that's about it.
They go to this structure, they're limited to how many, 20 hours a week?
Yeah, on average.
No, because, well, it's getting really tricky now.
See, that's my concern. Chris mentioned that in the meeting the other day, and I was like, oh my, or they're gonna have to be careful, because if they work a 24-hour shift or 12, that means that person can work one shift a week, or, you know. We need to make sure Sean understands that. We have to get clarity on that.
Yeah, I have
Where
to.
are you looking for?
Well, because they're already employees, and so their per diem is gonna be just like your stipends. And I don't know I don't know as firefighters, right now they're on call, so they're not in the retirement system. And, I guess they're doing OBRA, I guess so.
Except what about the
The
multiple that are full-time employees with the town?
Yeah,
Is all their stuff going to BCR?
Yeah,
That's
or those two guys, yeah, you mean, Tyler and Seamus?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's, all their stuff goes into, but I don't know if the fire piece goes into retirement for them. I'd have to look and see.
Oh, yeah, we need to answer that question.
So that's what I think at the end of the day is some kind of an offer letter.
The other thing you need to, if you got 2 people on there and they're working over there, does that mean count their 40 hours and put some of that overtime?
I'm sorry, what?
If you have 2,
No, because it's a different position.
you're working for the town, it's coming out of the same payroll.
Payroll.
But so.
See, what I'm saying
No, I
is,
get you.
Tyler's working here 40 hours and he goes, I'll work Friday night. Is that 12 hours or what the shift is that overtime? We got to get.
Yeah, because I'll have to find out, because it's all this on-call stuff and it's not a full-time fire department, I don't
Yeah,
necessarily.
but you're going to,
I'd have
well, you know.
But who do we even
We need
ask?
to get some clarity.
to ask, I'll start with, retirement,
Town council.
town council.
I would
probably
start with town council.
Treasurer's office there. Yeah,
Anyway, the question is, and I said, so I don't really think we need to have appointments,
Right,
but
but we do need an offer letter, and we better for that purpose have clarity on
We need clarity.
the people that are
When I run the
full-time
offer
town
letter.
employees, how they're affected differently than the people who are not, and what each offer letter has to
And
have.
if you have a full-time, like a DPW, and the council says it's okay, you need to make sure that you say, look, this is above your
Mhm.
full-time position at DPW. There's no overtime, you don't, you know, you gotta make sure that they're, you know.
That they understand what that
Oh,
is.
yeah,
Can they even waive that right, though?
you can't, I don't believe you can waive that, right?
I don't know, I'm not certain
I
about
don't
that.
know. No,
I don't
the
know.
only way you get around that stuff is they become a contract employee, but a lot of those laws have changed.
Yeah, because it does count, because we had some people like in my office that were, working full-time and were some like evening work came up and, they weren't able to do it, even though it was a totally different department.
Yeah,
Because
and
it
that's
was,
what
it was,
happened.
it was total hours, so they'd be getting paid overtime, and so they couldn't do it.
So it may not be possible.
But it's the fact that it's not an actual, it's on
But you,
call, and it's not.
well, the other thing is under that, I don't know, there's that fair
The
labor,
whole department's on call.
Oh, I see.
that, yeah, but we gotta remember, we're changing.
Yeah.
So
Well, yeah.
So the Fair Labor Act, where they, that a fire.
I would allow
Go out,
50,
emergency responder can work, what is it, 52 hours a week,
But I'm not sure, but if you're working the two jobs, that's a good question,
Yeah.
can they do 12, they,
Yeah,
it's 52,
I-
can they do 12 for the fire and 40 for town and not have to be overtime,
Well,
like, I don't know.
I'll make some phone calls tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would start with council.
God, why is everything so darn difficult?
Yeah, but.
Sure could
Everything is
use
so
just a
difficult.
but
horse,
I could-
cart, and a Dalmatian.
I know,
all
right?
set.
Or, get rid of the government, no, sorry.
Well,
You
yeah.
anarchist.
Well, it's slowly getting.
Anarchist.
I don't know, I don't think they're gonna let them do it, my gut feeling.
Yeah, I have a
that's
feeling that's true, and it didn't even occur to me till now.
Because
Because the stipend thing was okay, but
stipend per diem or whatever.
I know. Well, the thing is, when they're working an overnight shift, it's not normal work hours, right? They were like sleeping in there and they weren't deploying all that often. And it's treated separately, but you're right, as a per diem, it's another thing altogether.
That's another thing you're saying, it's.
I know.
All right, is that a motion to adjourn?
Yes, I make
Oh,
motion to
God,
adjourn.
yes,
All right, we'll vote on that.
yes.
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 Maybe.
I don't know,
7:15.
we'll leave you in here.